had a great time since racing resumed, with 11 winners to his name. And this horse ran well on debut, was quite prominent up at Newcastle, over 6 furlongs on debut. Went down to Thunder of Niagara, who was an impressive winner for the Mark Johnson team. Colt by Dandyman. He was readily held by the winner, but sees the rest of them off quite nicely. And it's been well back throughout the course of the morning into even money. A little bit of money late again for Emirati Dirham. It was put in as favourite last night. He went out to 5-2. He's back into 2-1. He led the field when dropping back to be 5th at Newcastle, in behind Victory Heights. The eye-catcher in that race, Lost My Sock, entered to run up at Pontefract on Monday. Jason Hart on board that day. Oisin Murphy is who takes the ride on this occasion. And Bay of Whispers, a filly by Cable Bay, makes her debut for Richard Hannon under Rosa Ryan.
The loading up process underway here. There is Emirati Dirham, who was 5th on debut. He made all up at Newcastle when we had our second day of racing for John Quinn, and he just didn't pick up in the final furlong really, but it was a really promising start, and he's out quite quickly. He's just having a hood put on to help him come forward, but generally on the whole he's been quite well behaved. If they're sweating up and getting warm, well, they've got every right to be, because it is incredibly muggy here. Since the sun's broken through the clouds, it's really warmed it up, and you can see gorgeous sunny day here on the pictures. There is still a lot of cloud around, so I'm not entirely sure we're going to stay dry, but fingers crossed. So the jockeys, I'm sure, will find that the ground does dry out and it gets a little bit more tiring through the afternoon with such a strong sun beating down. So you better believe it, coming forward into stall 6 for Rowan Scott and Nigel Tinkler. That completes the lineup. Gareth Topham to call them home.
And they're off. Jumping away for the first of 9 here at Doncaster today. This is the British Stallion Studs EBF Novice Stakes. Northern General was quite hardly away and is already chasing them many lengths adrift. It is Rebel at Dawn, the light blue colours, leading them down the centre of the track. A couple of them coming more towards the stand side rails. They are Emirati Dirham and Rolf Rembrandt. Completely tailed off here is Northern General. All of the others racing on down the centre there. Rebel at Dawn over Stitcher in the yellow jacket, and then Burning Cash further back to You Better Believe It, then Red Carpet Queen and Bay of Whispers, making the run down inside their final 2 furlongs now. And up ahead, just edging across towards the near side, Rebel at Dawn has done Emirati Dirham no favours. That one forced to switch. Against the stand side rails is Rolf Rembrandt. On the far side, You Better Believe It is joining in. Rebel at Dawn with challengers on all sides here. Emirati Dirham trying to rescue the prize on the far side. That one racing together with You Better Believe It. Near side is Rolf Rembrandt, but going close home, Rebel at Dawn is in front, and after a promising debut at Newcastle last week has gone one better here. It's Rebel at Dawn beating Rolf Rembrandt, Emirati Dirham, and You Better Believe It.
Well, wandered around a little bit, but in the end Rebel at Dawn was too good for them for Carl Burke and Ben Curtis. Gone off the odds-on favourite at 10-11. Just wilted late on up at Newcastle, but has been strong to the line, and a really game effort as well. Really sticks his neck out. Rebel at Dawn pays a nice compliment to Thunder of Niagara, who beat him on that occasion. He did come off towards his right hand side. You can see Oisin Murphy making good headway here aboard Emirati Dirham, upsides Rolf Rembrandt, but the favourite just goes across him, or across her. And he rallies on again late, but you've got to like the way that in the closing stages that Rebel at Dawn has found more and goes away from them. Rolf Rembrandt on debut 3 for 2nd, and Emirati Dirham. Change of tactics today. John Quinn's runner made all, or tried to make all, up at Newcastle, but allows Rebel at Dawn to go on. There's the winning trainer. The horse had the colours of Carl Walters and Elaine Burke. but has been well supported. Emirati Dirim put in his favourite last night. He was disposed as favourite and finished third, with Rolf Rembrandt splitting the pair at 33s. But Rebel at Dawn going on to win as the 10-11 market leader. We've got to take a short pause and be joined by Chris Richardson, the Managing Director of Cheveley Park, stood to look ahead to the Royal meeting when we come back.
لودرم قادم بقوة أيضا في هذه اللحظات على السياج الداخلي لتحقيق هذا الانتصار الأول في هذا الموسم من خلال أسماء ذا سوميت في المنافسة. لودرم فيكتور لودرم بطل الجينيز الفرنسي.
عام الاستعداد لل50. الاستعداد لتطوير خططنا في الاقتصاد، التعليم، الصحة، البنية التحتية
Roya. Then came Zawiana, and they were followed in the centre by Nadeshka. Deeper on the track is La Salt 6, and further back in the field is Berlin Calling. Toward the rear is Retina. As they go toward the first turn, Shanabala just up ahead of that horse. Onto the first bend out of the straight. They've got about 1900 to travel. Coming through in the centre was Rain de Calvi, and Rain de Calvi goes up to join Fate de la Mer. In third placing then was Nadeshka. In the white with the green square. Back down on the inside is Louvre Dancer. The grey now moving forward on the inside. Then came La Roya, 2 or 3 lengths away to Zawiana racing on the inside. Shanabala in the centre and out 3 horses wide, La Salt 6. Then came further back to Retina. And last of all is Berlin Calling, around about 8 or 9 lengths off the leader as they go down the back of the course. So they head towards the halfway mark with about 1100 to go. It's Fate de la Mer in front by a length. In second placing on the outside is Rain de Calvi. Third placing came Louvre Dancer. They were followed on the outside by La Roya, who's in the black jacket with the quartered cap. Next on the outside of those horses is La Salt 6. In the centre is Neshenda. Then came Louvre Dancer on the inside, being tracked along by Zawiana, the orange and blue. Then mixed in the field is Shanabala. They were followed by Berlin Calling, and pushed back to being last now is Retina as they're on the swing for home. About to straighten up, and the leader is Fate de la Mer. In second placing, Rain de Calvi feeling the pinch. In third placing is La Roya. They were followed right around the outside. Berlin Calling's now starting to be popped the question, and is the widest runner down the centre of the track. Also with the white sleeves running on is La Salt 6. Toward the inside was Nadeshka, and now Louvre Dancer is seeing daylight and coming through in between runners. It's the top weight, Berlin Calling, looming up to grab the lead. Berlin Calling went to the front and raced clear of Nadeshka, and it's Berlin Calling coming away to win. Berlin Calling is first. Now second home has gone to Nadeshka. Third has gone to La Salt 6. They were followed by Louvre Dancer, who wilted slightly on his run in the home straight.
Favourite wins then had been running in better races up in Paris. Chanty and Deauville on its last couple of runs was in Class 2 company a couple of runs back. And Berlin Calling wins her 7th career start on her 47th career outing. Coming from last to first as well with a sweeping run under Alexis Bedell. Goes on to win, beating into second place Nadeshka, who actually ran okay last time out. Backs it with a decent run as well. But Berlin Calling, top weight and favourites, flies home to take race 5.
فايروس كورونا.
بسم الله عليك فيروس كورونا.
قال الله ولا فالق. بسم الله علي يا اخواني، الوعي اهم وقايه. الله يسعدكم.
عام الانطلاقة الكبرى لمسيرة 50 القادمة، لنطور خططنا، مشاريعنا، تفكير.
Campari, bearing in mind that Lord Campari did show quite a bit of ability on his debut. I just feel that Tsar might be better suited to the mile here. But we'll soon find out. And to that end, let's join David.
Thanks, Lydia. I think just 3 out of line. Now, Show Melina's going to go into 2 and also 7, 8 and 10. So there were 4 left to load. 7 will be the home of Ivor Hunch, hopefully. Lord Campari still to go into stall 10 and O'Reilly's Pass into 8. 3 of them have got blindfolds on. So most of them in, still just waiting for a few more. Blindfold on Forked Lightning, and they put the blindfold on Ivor Hunch to come forward as well. Just not quite playing ball at the moment. Most of them standing pretty calmly, and the well-fancied Tsar on the extreme right, stall number 1. Jockey's just jumped off Ivor Hunch. They've had a few tries with that one. And Kieran Fallon's climbing into the stalls. They're going to try and load the horse without the jockey aboard. I think just about everything else is in now. And progress being made, and it looks as though they've got him, so they're all set. And they're off. The 11 of them in the first division of the It's Not Rocket Science with Mansion Bet Novice Stakes. Pushed along early King Fairy to try and get prominent. One of them in yellow colours. The yellow with the black spots, Lord Campari, out nicely. Tsar is currently towards the right of picture, having been drawn stall 1, the pink hat. That is just following Churath, the blue and white. Also in pink, Ivor Hunch just following the leaders, in company with Burke and Wills. The red cap on the left is Forked Lightning. O'Reilly's Pass is held up towards the back with Sidereal, the white and green. And the maroon and white, Wild Boy and Martin Harley. And the white-faced runner is Show Melina, just about the back marker. So Lord Campari is leading the way here to King Fairy in second position, Forked Lightning the near side, Churath on the far side. They're followed by Burke and Wills, and then Ivor Hunch. Zara's just got 3 behind. O'Reilly's Pass, Sidereal, and Wild Boy Show Melina as well. So they've gone by halfway, and they're running towards the 3 furlong marker, and it is Lord Campari held together in the lead. Now getting shaken up is King Fairy. Dottori's just asking Tsar to get a little bit closer on the right of picture, right on the outside, and he does get a response as well as they run towards the 2. It is still Lord Campari, and the jockey at Zany hasn't pushed any buttons yet. Dottori is starting to get stuck into Tsar and has gone for the whip as well, and Lord Campari has a length and a half to 2 on the favourite. They run inside the furlong, and Lord Campari is stretching out quite takingly here, and Tsar does not have any answers. And it's going to be Lord Campari, and this is a very comfortable success. Stylish. Lord Campari wins. Put Tsar in his place, second, and clear of the third. That was King Fairy, and Churath was 4th.
Very authoritative win from Lord Campari in the end. Andrea Zeni on board for Roger Varian. He'd shown a high level of form, this horse, as a 2-year-old on his 1 start. I was slightly concerned about whether the mile would be right up his street. Well, it absolutely was. He's seen it out really, really nicely, having travelled really beautifully throughout the race. He sort of raced towards the near side along with the eventual third, the newcomer King Fairy, and Fangadittori was a little bit further back on the runner-up Tsar, who, remember, was conceding £7 to the winner, but was nonetheless completely put in his place, as David was saying immediately afterwards. He had to work a little bit harder to get onto the tail of the leaders. He didn't have the company that Lord Campari had, but really Lord Campari with just authority and class here. Here are the early stages, and there is Tsar on the far side, and you'll see that Frankie Dettori elects to tuck him in, and he essentially takes the lead from the filly Tarath. But the pace of the race is more towards this near side centre, set by Lord Campari, who travels so strongly, and accompanied by the promising newcomer and eventual third, King Fairy. George, what did you make of this?
Really good performance by the winner. Andrea would have been delighted. He's in a lovely rhythm on the front end, just on the wing of the rest of the field. He's got his ears pricked, which is always a good indication that the horse is in a nice, smooth rhythm. And he dictated on his own terms, and I think he's just got an even gallop. He's got a really likeable way of carrying himself. When I saw him in the paddock beforehand, in my notes I put he'll improve for the run. He's a big unit and will tighten up for this effort. He's got a beautiful way of carrying himself. He's got quite a rounded action, and it was just an effortless performance.
Czar, what did you make of him?
I thought Frankie was, as you made the point of, he wanted to get cover and probably slightly over-travelled, but he was no match for a very impressive winner. It was a really good starting point back. It's always difficult when you're in these competitive types of novice races and you're carrying the penalty, but by no means he wasn't any match for the winner. But I think he sets a pretty decent standard with an official rating of 86, so you know where you stand with these horses.
King Fairy's run very promisingly in third.
Yeah, really likeable first effort. Just seeing him in the paddock beforehand, you'd imagine that he'll physically improve through the season. He's bred to do so, and you would imagine that maybe there might be more options for him stepping up in trips. So I thought it was a really nice introduction in what to the eye looked a very, very sort of competitive novice.
Yeah, the winners come well clear of the second well clear of the third, and there's distance between the third and fourth as well. Tarath, the filly, has just found the final furlong a bit of a bind for her. But she's shown plenty on her second start, seems to have improved. The horses that have stuck on from the rear are a couple of newcomers, with the red cap on the left-hand side and the green and white body. That's Burke and Wills, who was patiently ridden. And on the far side, the stable companion of the runner-up, Wild Boy, who was making his debut. He was patiently ridden out the back by Martin Harley, and he has come through to see out his race quite nicely. But this is the really impressive performance from Lord Campari. You can see that curl of the knee that George was mentioning. You wonder whether he would really like it rattling fast. There was a sharp and sustained shower of rain here at Newbury last night. Things have dried out since then, and Tom will be providing you with the times in a few moments' time. But that was a very encouraging performance on just his second start from Lord Campari, who has built on what was already a promising debut to establish quite a classy level of form by winning this opening novice event.
Yeah, that was most impressive from Lord Campari, lengthening away from the second Czar, who in turn I think was just coming a bit clear of the newcomer King Fairy. So a very smart performance. Time for you shortly. 15-8, Lord Campari.
Like, you actually enjoyed a little bit of ease in the ground there.
Yeah, well, just saying there, he's a 6 furlong horse really. We took a chance dropping him back to 5 because of the ground, and he's got a little bit of knee action, so we knew he'd handle, or we thought we'd handle that, and he's toughed it out well, but he's better than the bare result, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I watched his race and I thought, why on earth is he dropping him back down in trip? But then the way the conditions are, so fair play to you, got it absolutely spot on. Well,
the other reason as well, I wanted to run significantly and him again quickly and try and significantly could have gone to Ascot, Yeah. But we decided to go the sensible route, and he's got +10 bonus, which the race tomorrow over 6 is a +10.
Oh, brilliant.
So
split the two.
He's plenty of speed, yeah. But he should also on pedigree stay the trip. So it made sense to run him in the +10 race, and this fella today. It
plays to be a local. You've had quite a lot of rain up here, so I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. It's so dry down at home. But talking of tomorrow, you've got Lady in France as well. Back down to 5 furlongs. Are you looking forward to that? Or?
She's a proper 5 furlong filly. There's 1 non-runner. I think there's only 6 runners now. She's in great form. She'll love the cut in the ground, love the ground as well. So hoping for a big run from her.
Oh, brilliant. So that's something to look forward to tomorrow. And what about your 2 runners here? We did speak to Ben about his chance just there as well, but you're represented as well with War of Clans. What about his chances?
Yeah, the pair of them are
an indication that conditions are okay. Sitherton Wood wasn't disgraced on heavy, and Ben saying there he thinks it is soft. But the last couple go forward. Let's head over and rejoin Gareth for race 2.
Last one about to head forward. James Bond into stall 8. They're ready. And off for the Sky Sports Racing HD on Virgin 535 handicap. And out well to the near side, War of Clans, with on the far side Trevi Fountain. Between runners is Foreshore in the purple jacket, with Gossip close up in the pink, and then pulling rather hard is Stittenham Wood, who races just ahead of James Bond, and more towards the near side is Some Kind of Superstar in the dark blue with the pink diamonds. Working back through the field to find the likes of You Never Let Me Down, Ebony Legend, Shadow Leader, and Mr. Fudge, the orange stars on the black jacket over to the far side, and on the extreme right is Sports Reporter in the all grey. Heading on down inside halfway now, and it is War of Clans, who shows narrowly ahead, who are now pushed along Foreshore, and on the far side at Trevi Fountain. Gossip is now trying to make a move over towards this side together with Some Kind of Superstar. Then follows James Bond and You Never Let Me Down as they make the run down towards the final furlong and a half. And War of Clans keeping up the pace at the moment. On the attack, Foreshore to the far side. This side is Some Kind of Superstar, who's running well. Further back to Trevi Fountain, then Stittenham Wood and James Bond. Inside the final 150 yards they come. It is War of Clans again, as edged across to the stand side rails, is just ahead to Foreshore, and this will go to War of Clans from Foreshore in second, back in third Some Kind of Superstar, and then came Stittenham Wood.
There's been a Carl Burke 1-2. War of Clans and Foreshore have been up there throughout, and War of Clans, the bigger price of the pair, comes out on top at 11-1 under Harrison Shaw. Foreshore in second place, and back in third Some Kind of Superstar. So Carl Burke's taken the first two races at Doncaster today. War of Clans, he'd won at Brighton last summer, goes in again, was always up there. Foreshore taking second place. Favourite disappointed, Gossip, under pressure coming down towards the closing stages. 11-1 the winner. Foreshore second at 9-2. And Some Kind of Superstar back in third at 33-1. So Carl Burke won the first, and he's had the first and second home in the 12:30.
Sky at Kempton. It was the end of last year. He does say this kind of trip, he's effective at a variety of different ground. He tends to be one of the horses that'll be racing more towards the fore, and on his best chance, on his best form rather, he should be thereabouts. Dropping back to horse number 6, we can pick up C Fox, who used to be a high-class 7 furlong a mile handicapper, and he shaped okay behind Gossiping at Kempton last time. This mile trip is going to suit him well. Again, he is just as effective on turf as he is on the all-weather. He's not always the most straightforward. He's a great big horse as well. Behind that we have horse number 5, and that is Madame Tansy, and that horse was 6th behind the Cove on her final start last season. Again, maybe didn't quite get into things. The race had kind of developed before she got involved. She does stay a mile. And she has got some improvement left in her, you would think. Right, over to the far side again and pick up horse number 3. And that is Yagood. Roger Ingram and Daniel Muscat teaming up for that. Ran third at Clairefontaine. Can't really get a handle on the value of that form. That was when he was trained by John Hammond. He's since joined Roger Ingram. I'll be learning about him, if I'm perfectly honest. Behind him we've got number 1, Fortune and Glory. And Fortune and Glory represents Joseph Tuitt, James Doyle on board. Won at Lingfield last time out. That was from Silver Dust. Stayed on and managed to win late in the day. He was returning from a break and saw it out really nicely. Sometimes he can be slowly into stride. Behind that, let's go over to fine number 11, I think. So 2 horses behind to number 11. That's Nearly Perfection, representing Alan King, and this horse was 9th at a big price behind Claire May at Wolverhampton last time. That was handicap debut, lightly raced horse and potentially open to some improvement, and that performance wasn't up to the best of his novice/maiden form beforehand. Right, number 5 we've already discussed, 5 and 6. Number 4 we haven't, so 2 horses behind to number 4, and that's Knights Hayes, the Paul George and Luke Morris. This horse wasn't at his best last season. He only ran 3 times and didn't quite manage to reproduce her better form from earlier on. She needs to bounce back, really, frankly. Number 12 follows. And that is Merweb. Merweb represents Heather Main, and this horse was well beaten last time we saw him. He was returning from a break on that occasion. Versatile type of horse who runs well on all weather. It was a good effort at Kempton a couple of starts back. He also does handle turf. Again, he's one of the potential pace angles in the race. Of the others remaining, I think we have seen most of the ones heading out. Number 6 is just on his toes. Seafox on his toes just in front of me here. And number 4 passing through we have discussed. So I think we have been through as many that remain in the paddock at this stage. So I will have a look at these on the way to post.
So 12:45 at Newbury. We've got 4-1 joint favourites in the form of Fortune and Glory and Puerto Banús. 5-1 Sheila Showcase. Merweb is 6-1. Yagud 9s, as is Madame Sancy, and 14s and bigger the rest. Leighton Heats 18s into 16s, but nothing major there. And 11 of them go to post. And Zephyrina was out of this. We knew that pretty early doors that filly wasn't going to run. Now, hearing that we've got a going change to good, from good to soft, good in places, to just good. You can see there's a little bit of wind there, and it's a sunny day as well.
Hand over to our commentator this afternoon again, and that's David Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Lydia. Last one just coming forward now. Puerto Banús goes into stall number 10, set, and they're off in this wash and bet with Mansion Bet at Newbury, handicap over the mile. Sheila Showcase, Madame Tauncy and Seafox up there early on. Seafox rousted along to get prominent. Just in behind them is Knights Hayes, the dark and light green. These are followed then on the outside by Yagud, and Yagud is followed by Puerto Banús, and then Merweb, followed by Biotic. One of the fancies, Fortune and Glory, the red and white, is towards the back with Nearly Perfection. As they now, Leighton Heat just worse than midfield. As it is Madame Tauncy just running a shade keenly, the dark blue sleeves on the left. On the right is Seafox and Owen Walsh. Sheila Showcase following these. You're good in the headgear. Knights Hayes on the right, on the outside. Puerto Banús, the maroon, following with Leighton Heat. Merweb just being shuffled along, and these are being followed by Fortune and Glory. James Doyle in no hurry as the front two just lock horns a little bit. Biotic and Nearly Perfection, the back pair. The field run down towards the 3 furlong marker, and again the rider is at Seafox. Madame Tauncy, Charlie Bishop just with the lead. Sheila Showcase is following. Pushed along in behind is Knights Hayes. Puerto Banús trying to ease into it and making some progress as well. For pressure is Fortune and Glory. Madame Tauncy, the one that needs catching, but still has 2 furlongs to go here, and they are getting closer. Fortune and Glory and Puerto Banús are getting much more competitive here. Biotic trying to come down the stand side on the left. Madame Tauncy has got a brace of challengers to try and fend off, and Fortune and Glory is the one that's just doing best at the moment. And Fortune and Glory and James Doyle get to the front from Puerto Banús, and Madame Tauncy. Biotic into 4th. It's Fortune and Glory. He supplements his Lingfield triumph last week and beats Puerto Banús. Madame Tauncy and Biotic was 4th.
Fortune and Glory wins again, second win over this course and distance. Joe Chewett and James Doyle combining has come from a patient ride from off at 18-5 favourites, has beaten Puerto Banús, who's run on, and staying up there in 3rd, Madame Sancy, who was right up there throughout. The winner was Fortune and Glory. Sandown, Happy Romance is even money from Fernando Ra, 2-1. Bungled Up in Blue is 11-4. 51 Liberty Bay, Just a Jobab is 100-1. 5 of these go. We heard Martin Dixon talking about the chances of Happy Romance and how he expected this daughter of Dandy Man to go a little bit better here, perhaps, than the...
We're then down to 3 runners for this opening 2-year-old maiden. Bungled Up in Blue. In the blue and yellow jacket, was fast into stride and is with the market leader Happy Romance. Dark colours for her up on the outside, about a neck behind the leader as they complete the first 300 yards. And the other one of the trio now in this contest, Just a Jeroboam with Dougie Costello, is behind those and shows 2 or 3 lengths behind at the rear of the field. So they move them on towards the halfway stage. Bungled Up in Blue and Happy Romance. These two show together. Happy Romance, the darker jacket on the outside of Bungled Up in blue and yellow colours, and there'd be a 5 or 6 length gap to the other one who got out of the starting stalls just to Jeroboam as they head down towards the last furlong now. Happy Romance moves through to the advantage. She's quickly hands and heels gone on by 2 lengths to Bungled Up in Blue in second position. Happy Romance wins by a good few lengths in the end. Bungled Up in Blue in second position, and just to Jeroboam quite a few lengths behind those in third.
In the end, like a sharp piece of work where Happy Romance has dispatched comfortably her workmate. Bungled Up in Blue, who finished in front of Happy Romance at Newmarket, has been left in her wake today, and that rather confirmed what Sean Levy told us before racing today, that the Hannon team thought she was one of their better two-year-olds. It's a 3-runner race with 1 no-hoper. You can't get too excited, but she's shown a sharp turn of foot to dispatch her main rival, and she's drawn right away, and the jockey's had a job pulling her up. So I'm guessing that is more in line with what their expectations were, Martin, first time.
Absolutely, she was much sharper all round today, wasn't she? And I think Sean rode her as if he knew she would be. He was bustling her up as soon as they left the gate. She jumped into the bridle straight away. And pretty much throughout, there wasn't a moment's worry. It was a very professional performance from her. Obviously, with only one rival to beat, there's only so much she'll learn from it. But in a way, it's probably quite a nice experience for this filly. And she looks a useful prospect. She's jumped forward from her debut quite significantly, I think, and you've got the clear line into that through Bungled Up in Blue.
Absolutely, and it was quite clear from a pretty early stage, a quite surprisingly early stage to me, how superior she was to today's runner-up.
She looks a big, strong filly as well, Nick. You've obviously seen her in the flesh. Just looking at it on the TV picture, she looks almost in contrast to Bungled Up in Blue, who looks much lighter framed when you see in the picture.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, she and the withdrawn horse, Fernando Ra, did stand out. I love Fernando Ra as a physical. I'd be interested in when he does finally make it into the stalls and running. But, yeah, she's got more presence, more scope about her than the runner-up, Bungled Up in Blue. You fancy, Martin, don't you, that Bungled Up in Blue might be one of those horses that had there been, 5 furlong races in April, she'd have been winning one of those and probably doing it quite nicely.
Agree completely, yeah. That's, in a way, they probably had that in their minds. She's Bungle in the Jungle out of Asaki's Secret mare. It's all speed, really, and she is sharp, but, yeah, she's a bit of a short runner now, I think, and it might be that they struggle with her a little bit as other horses progress past her physically, maybe, later in the season, for all that she's quite sharp and she's obviously got ability. The winner, what could be the target for her? Well, we know that Richard Hannon likes to target the super sprint. She does hold an entry in that race, which is scheduled, I think, for mid-July at Newbury. So she's a 25 grand dandy man filly. She'd probably be getting weight from some horses in a super sprint, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was the destination for her, and she could even go to a race like that with a decent chance.
Yeah, she's got ability, that's for sure, this daughter of Dandy Man, and she's won this really tidily. We were down to 3, I'm afraid, and we've only got 4 in the next. It'll represent a very good opportunity for Sean Levy and Richard Hannon to grab a short price double, but for the time being, we'll hand back to you, Tom, with the SPs.
Give me those when we get it. Yeah, she was good there, wasn't she? A Happy Romance. Appreciating that stiff finish, seemingly running on very nicely from Bungled Up in Blue, who showed a good bit of that early speed again. But Happy Romance, pretty comfortable.
Give it number 9 at Stranger on the Shore for this, the British Stallion Studs EBF Fillies Novice Stakes. And slow to get going, Livia the Empress trails them by around about 3 lengths in the early stages. The first to show is Sparkling Perry, leads up a length and a half over Publicist, who is in second, a couple of lengths back to Magisterium in the sheepskin noseband, racing in third. And then Hagar over to the far side of Bella Notte, who's in the light blue, and Livia the Empress is at the back of the field. So making the journey over towards the near side, they're gradually coming now, and 3 furlongs done and dusted, 3 left. And on the far side, Sparkling Perry under James Sullivan. This side, the champion jockey Sheen Murphy aboard at Publicist, and then up in between the Magisterium. Further back to Hagar, and then Bellanotte is working hard at the back, and Livia the Empress is trying hard to take her on, but inside the final 2 furlongs with the stands rails to help. Publicist down the near side has still got a little bit of work to do to get to Sparkling Perry, who's finding plenty. Sparkling Perry to, in second position, Publicist, and then Magisterium. Magisterium now going into second place and is trying to hunt down this leader, who's running about a little bit, but is keeping up the gallop. They're racing into the final 75 yards. It is Sparkling Perry. Magisterium is coming hard down the stand sides, but Sparkling Perry has just done enough to fend off Magisterium, with Hagar fast finishing third, and in the end, those 3 pulling clear of Publicist.
Well, it seems to be suiting front runners at Doncaster this afternoon. Rebel at Dawn made all in the first, War of Clans made all in the second, and Sparkling Perry has made all to spring a 25-to-1 surprise here. There's only 2 horses with form coming into this, Publicist and Sparkling Perry. Sparkling Perry, we touched on, had finished last of 12 up at Newcastle on debut. She's related to winners, but she was 28-to-1 when down the field on debut. But she's seen them all off here. First off, Publicist came under pressure. You could tell she wasn't going to get there as they raced down inside the final furlong. Magisterium was the one to prove the danger. Another one who's related to winners. Runs well to take second for Michael Dodds and Paul Mulren. Hagar back in third. The favourite only fourth there. So far, Rasheen's had a disappointing afternoon. Gossip was disappointing in the previous race. Publicist, I thought, would have run much, much better today. But it does seem to be suiting horses out on the speed. That's the 3rd horse to have made all the running to win at Doncaster. But a couple of non-runners, Glitterbox Girl and Isle of May, both came out early. And withdrawn at the start was Stranger on the Shore. A filly just reared before they entered the stalls. But Sparkling Perry, last of 12 on debut, wins here. Publicist disappointing in 4th place. This is what happened down at the start. They just had 1 left to load forward. That was Standing on the Short, who reared. Ronan Scott, luckily, avoiding that filly coming down on top of him, and they all walked away. At this stage, I thought the favourite was going to get on terms, but Publicist couldn't reel in Sparkling Perry. Well done to James Given and Lovely Bubbly Racing. And James Sullivan, who's done the steering aboard Sparkling Perry, who's did well to see out the trip. Raced quite keen early, but is strong to the finish. Magisterium runs well in 2nd place. But hopefully more chances for Rasheen a little bit later. 3 down so far and winless. He does ride for Sir Michael Stout later on in the feature race at 3:25. Joyful Mission, who goes to post there, has been gelded since he was last seen. This was race 3 of 9 up at Doncaster, first of 2 days racing on Town Moor. Just confirming, Sparkling Perry 25-to-1, the winner. Magisterium in 2nd at 7-to-1. The favourite Publicist only back in 4th place. So nice performance from Sparkling Perry. He returns victorious under James Sullivan recording.
Start off on a positive note.
Storming in has attracted some support. So he's a tricky character, that grey that's just going forward now.
Yeah, Gary Moore's had his team, small team of flat horse in pretty good form. He's a horse that can be frustrating at times, but if you pick through his form, he's operated at a slightly higher level than a mark of 70 in the past. Kind of know that the 10 furlongs here and ground conditions are really going to play to his strengths. So maybe after a bit of a break, he'll come back in good form. He's run well off a break in the past.
Okay, last one forward. Thank you very much, George. Let's join David Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Lydia. Simbursk completes the line. And they're off. And awkward to get out of the stalls was Singing Sheriff there, just half down before they opened, and immediately on the back foot in this Mansion Bet, proud to support British racing, handicap. 10 furlongs, New Agenda, the game is on, well to the fore with Employer. Mercury Dime pink sleeves on the outside of Isle of Wolves, a mainly white jacket. Edmond Dantes is then on the inside, the dark blue, and followed by the lighter of the greys, Storming In. And on the outside of Storming In is Simbursk, and Simbursk with Deinonychus on that one's outer, and towards the back of the field at this stage, Redgrave, the dark blue and orange, and just catching up some ground on that one's inner, Purple and Red, Singing Sheriff after the fluffed start. As they're on the turn, racing back towards home, and in the lead it is New Agenda under Kieran Fallon to The Game Is On, and Tom Marquand in second position. Employer in third, Mercury Dime in fourth, Jim Crowley, then Isle of Wolves as they race towards halfway. Not quite there just yet. Edmond Dantes in the hands of Ryan Moore is just in midfield at this stage with Simbursk on that one's outer. Wider still is Deinonychus, Storming In held together with Singing Sheriff at the back, along with Redgrave, trying to do what his stablemate did in the previous race and come from the rear of the field. So into the home straight, about to come inside their last half mile. New Agenda to The Game Is On. Employer on the inside, still going okay. Andrea Atzani just easing a bit closer to the leader's girth. Edmond Dantes has got that move covered. Also on the outside towards the right of the pack. The Game Is On is being firmly driven. So too Mercury Dime trying to come into it from the back of the field. Singing Sheriff, but a lot to do. The field about to head inside the 2 furlong marker. And as they do so, Employer is up there. So too is Edmond Dantes. Edmond Dantes and Employer, the first two. Isle of Wolves in the centre with New Agenda, and Redgrave is staying on well from the back. The dark blue and orange inside the furlong. Edmond Dantes has the lead under Ryan Moore. Redgrave chasing hard with Isle of Wolves. Edmond Dantes right over on the far side. Isle of Wolves in second. Edmond Dantes for David Menwizier has taken this in good style. Beaten Isle of Wolves into second position. Third was Redgrave, Storming In, and New Agenda next.
Edmond Dantes has won our third race here at Newbury for Ryan Moore and David Menwizier. A good performance for this horse on seasonal debut, and he raced towards the far side rail, and that did seem to be the place to be, and can often be the case here at Newbury, but it did seem the place to be last night. In second it's Isle of Wolves, who's made quite an encouraging debut and is raced more towards the centre of the track there in the orange and yellow striped sleeves. That's Pat Cosgrave for Jim Doyle. And in third it's Redgrave, who has patiently ridden out the back in the early stages, and he is stuck on well for third place. What did you make of this, George?
All the winners travelled around with consummate ease. It's interesting last night and today that Ryan Moore's been very keen to stick to that sort of far side if he can on the round track. It stood in a good stead last night, and he's done the same again, obviously from an inside draw in this race, but he was more than happy to, as a field, sort of ease towards the middle of the track where they get thrown off the bend there. He was very keen to stick down to the inside, and it's holding a good stead again.
We're watching the race again from the start, and Singing Sheriff didn't have a chance to show whether or not he could be as effective on the turf as the all-weather, because he completely got the start wrong. He seemed to half sit down in the stalls and was never in any kind of rhythm. Meanwhile up front we've got New Agenda, and you can pick up the winner, George, in the sort of rear of mid-division against the rails, nicely covered up and going in a nice rhythm.
Yeah, he ultimately travelled very strongly. Probably slightly stronger than Ryan Moore would have liked, but he's just exerting a little bit too much energy, but nothing too bad. I don't think, from just looking at the jockey's body languages, I don't think they've gone. Kieran Fallon on the front end on New Agenda hasn't gone too hard. He's just gone a building gallop, and it probably ultimately, you can just see they're racing in a compact style, and Ryan's in a really good posse, just sort of 3 rows back.
He is, and as they turn for home, they really do fan out. The races have started to fan out quite characteristic like this at Newbury all the time. This wasn't always the case, George, was it? That you would find that races at Newbury would be quite as spread out as this in the straight. Would that be fair? Definitely not. I think they're very. The way the rail's configured off the bend, there's a cutaway, and it sort of throws you down the middle of the track. And I just think in that respect it makes it probably on the round course a fairer test for everyone. You know, it gives everyone a chance. There's no hard luck stories, but ultimately it just looks to the eye like the best ground when you're on the round track is to stick to the far rail if possible, and Ryan Moore's been aware of that today, and he was last night. I suppose it means it's tricky if you want cover until late, isn't it, when they're all racing in single file?
Well, I think it has the profile to get you racing too soon when they race off the bend like that, because it opens up and you think, do I go and take my posse now or risk not getting a run? And the race opened up early doors, and Ryan obviously was able to just switch left, ideally towards the rail, and just got a nice smooth passage. But races can develop too soon on the round track at Newbury, and I think they've gone a building gallop, and it just ideally suited Ryan that they've got sort of racing a good way out, and he's able to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that tendency to race too soon on the round course here at Newbury. Just that head-on shows that Isle of Wolves, Pat Cosgrove had just had to weave his way through. The long-time leader, New Agenda, was just weakening and hanging right into him, but he has squeezed through. By the time he has got through, Edmond Dantes has already got the race well under control. A relatively lightly raced horse compared to many of his rivals, and this is best performance yet. A nice effort on seasonal debut. David Manoussier is here, so maybe we might be able to get a chat with him. He's also got History Writer running in the Diadem a little bit later on, and that horse finished last season on a high with an excellent success. So this horse has now doubled the number of times that he has won in his career, supplementing that success at Goodwood on softer ground, and this he has won quite readily here in the hands of Ryan Moore.
3 yards that are going on quite nicely. It's the second winner back since the break for David Manoussier, and as Lydia mentioned, it's got a couple of horses coming up, including History Writer in that Diomed Stakes. 100 to 30, Edmond Dantes, Ryan Moore on board. Isle of Wolves was second, 11 to 1, Redgrave, who 4 declared. 4's on is Manigordo. Let's join Nick.
So back here at Sandown, ahead of the 130 and Novice Stakes over 7 furlongs. Here's a nicely bred filly. Torfan, she's by Night of Thunder, who continues to hold all before him, and out of the 1,000 guineas heroine, albeit of a slightly earlier vintage, Amirat. Amirat raced in these colours of Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum for Michael Jarvis. Owen Burrows trains this filly. She looks ever so relaxed on her racecourse debut. Quite often the case first time, second time, tend to be a bit more buzzed up, but ever so relaxed, really laid back, nice, easy, long, loping walk. Who knows how good she is. She'll have to be pretty smart to beat Manigordo, but she's very interesting on pedigree, and the sire's continuing to do really well. Behind her is number 2, Brazen Bow, a bit more compact than his rivals, by a sprinting sire, but he's running over 7, and he made his debut over a mile, and nothing really happened either at Kempton at all. That was the day after resumption. He'll need a load more experience by the looks of that first effort. I'm interested, Connections are just cutting back in distance slightly. I wonder if at a low grade a shorter distance will be his game in due course, just looking at him as a model. And the next one in the paddock is Trepidation, number 3, walking towards us now. Trepidation by Braided Breath, trained by Brett Johnson. Stevie Donoghue takes the ride, had the 1 start, that was before lockdown, didn't really show an awful lot. And there is some encouragement in his pedigree that he can win races in due course. He's got a little bit of size about him as well. Maybe middle distance handicaps in due course. And here's the horse who should win, Manigordo, in front of me now. He's an attractive colt, isn't he? He's going to go down a little bit earlier than the others. He's by Kitten's Joy, sire of Kamiko, Roaring Lion, and so many champions in the United States. He looks the part, this horse, for sure. And he brings a very high standard of form into this race, both in the sales race at Doncaster. Here's Group 3. Levy looking for a quick and short price double for jockey and trainer. We'll find out whether he can complete that for them with Ian Bartlett.
And Torfan had gone into the wrong gate. She ended up in 4. 2 is her temporary home, and 4 will be for our lad who's waiting to take his place, as Torfan doesn't think much of being shifted out of 4 to go to 2, and has just had to be pushed up now to her stall again. She's in, so the final one then is our lad with Rob Hornby to stall number 4. 7 furlongs, the chip quartet lined up. They're off.
A race then from the 7 furlong start with Torfan, the filly who hadn't run before. Little slow with Our Lad at the back of the field, but long odds on favourite Manny Gordo. Bounces out with Sean Levy in the striped jacket of black and light blue and shows in front, having been a little bit slow to go. Torfan, yellow colours in the centre, has moved through to be close up. On the right, Our Lad in the black and yellows are quite keen and is striding through now to join Manny Gordo in front as they leave the back straight, and the 2 lengths behind those is Trepidation. He is the back marker then as they come halfway round the turn. There'd be a good 7 lengths first to last here. Manny Gordo again goes on, leads by a length and a half to Our Lad in second place. Then on the extreme right with a white star on ahead is Torfan, and behind those Trepidation just bustled along as they head down towards the last 2.5 furlongs. So Manny Gordo continues to be out in front. Now Torfan getting into full stride in second position. The pair of them are clearing away from Our Lad in third, Trepidation in fourth. Manny Gordo though coasting down towards the final furlong. Torfan trying hard in second position. She's still 2 lengths behind this odds on chance as they have 1 furlong to go. Manny Gordo just encouraged along now. Torfan, the yellow, in second position, still 2 lengths behind. It's a decent debut run, but it'll be second place for her as Manny Gordo wins. Torfan beaten only about a length in the end. They are well clear. Our Lad got third money and Trepidation fourth.
He's won the short price favourite. He's completed a double for Richard Hannon and for Sean Levy. And it was mission accomplished because he was overdue breaking his maiden, given the level that he'd shown last season. Manny Gordo, a handsome colt by Kitten's Joy, now has a 1 to his name. He conceded £5 the gender allowance and conceded 4 previous lifetime runs to the debutante Torfan. On the face of it, she's run pretty well here, and they're miles clear of 2 horses who had no pretensions to being anywhere near Manny Gordo on form. He got the job done, Martin, and he did it without ever really looking as though he was going to be threatened. But I think you'd be pleased with Torfan if you were connected with her, particularly given how laid back she was in the preliminaries.
She showed a lifeful attitude to stick at it, didn't she? When she came under pressure, she kept on galloping and stuck at Manny Gordo all the way to the line. I get the impression the winner is a horse that's not going to do a whole heap off the bridle, Nick. He seems to really tank his way through races, but when he actually comes under pressure, he seems not to find a whole lot more for the pressure than what he's already doing on the bridle. So he's been ridden from the front today in this positive manner to get the job done in a race that he should have won, and he has managed to win. But I think covering him up maybe in the way that he was at Donny, swinging off the bridle, maybe off a good gallop, would actually be seeing this horse to best effect in the future, perhaps. You can see when Sean goes for him inside the final furlong, he doesn't pick up immediately like some horses do. He just seems to keep going at the same pace for pressure as he is on the bridle. So I think there's a nice handicap in him at some point along the line, but it's just a case of job done today.
Do you think he's the sort of horse then that will be better suited by being dropped in and running at a pace that's collapsing around him?
I think so. That's the sort of horse I envisage him being, yes. I think he'll be sort of coming home in those big 7 furlong handicaps. At this moment in time, he's too enthusiastic probably to go any further than 7 furlongs as well. He might get a mile in time, a lot of Kitten's Joy would do, but he just seems to be a very exuberant, strong travelling individual. And
so Richard Hannon won the first 2 races at Sandown, looks for a quick fire treble. Will it happen? He's got Long Lie, this colt by Shalara. He's got plenty of stamina on the dam side as well. Starts off here over 7 furlongs. But 7th Kingdom, top in the market. 11 to 8 market leader. Related to some pretty good horses. 7th Kingdom. Prince Faisal's colours. Rashid Murphy out to look in the first 3 races so far today. He's on board this Long Lie. He's just proving a little bit fractious at the stalls. 7th Kingdom already in. back into 5-4. That's the kind of price he was this morning. Seventh Kingdom was around even money. Just proved easy on track for a little bit of time. But he's back into 5-4. Now trying the hood here on Long Lie. While they do, Codebook will go forward for Mark Johnson and Franny Norton. A sort of new approach. He's in. So now just waiting for Long Lie, who has been away for a gallop at Kempton. We're just showing his inexperience. Maybe now the hood's on, he'll just consent to slot in. Just in case he does, let's snip back and rejoin Gareth.
Four newcomers. Off and racing. And the slowest out was Eagle-Eyed Freddy for this, the Ultimate Royal Ascot Guide at atheraces.com/Ascot Novice Stakes. The first to show Codebook, with on the far side Long Lie in the blue and white. This side is Seventh Kingdom, and back in fourth is Eagle-Eyed Freddy as these four debutants work their way down the middle of the track, and they're being led by Codebook and Franny Norton, showing by half a length or so to Long Lie in second place for trainer Richard Hannon, who's had winners down south today, with back in at third at Seventh Kingdom, David Egan, the maroon-coloured jacket, and last of the quartet continues to be the outsider of the four, Eagle-Eyed Freddy under Alistair Rawlinson. Making the run down towards the final 3 furlongs here, and up ahead, Codebook leading Long Lie. And at the moment, both of these travelling a little better than the two in behind. Seventh Kingdom is being pushed along, as is Eagle-Eyed Freddy, working their way on down towards the final 2 furlongs. Long Lie now just poking the nose in front. Heads Codebook. Seventh Kingdom now finding his stride down the near side and is picking up with some purpose here, Seventh Kingdom. As they make the run down towards the final furlong, Eagle-Eyed Freddy is now tailed off back in behind them. Seventh Kingdom took a while to get going, but is accelerating well here and is staying on the best. Inside the final furlong they come. Seventh Kingdom in the hands of David Egan is now 3 to 4 lengths away from Long Lie in second. Codebook nothing more to offer back in third, and this will comfortably go to Seventh Kingdom, this son of Frankel making an eye-catching debut, a winning one. Second place at Long Lie, third at Codebook, and across the line in fourth was Eagle-Eyed Freddy.
John Gosden wins again then, as Seventh Kingdom goes on to score as the 6-5 market leader. Also as well bred, half brother to Lahore, who's a decent horse over short distances. This horse by Frankel adds to an Italian Group 1 2-year-old winner, who herself was a half-sister to the Group 2 winner, Gustav Klimt. Seventh Kingdom wasn't the best away, a little bit slowly away. Then looked to just lose himself mid-part of the race, but has come home very, very strongly. The further he's gone, the better he's gone. You can imagine a mile plus is going to suit him as well. You can just see how raw and inexperienced he was mid-race. But his final furlong, deeply impressive. Devouring the ground. Nice run in second from Long Lie as well, not giving a hard time when his chance had gone. Finished in second place, and the front-running Codebook was back in third. John Gosden just missing out with the favourite in the first race down at Newbury today. But usual service resumed here. 25th win since the resumption of racing. Had a double at Newbury last night. And a winner at Kempton in the afternoon. This horse has got a bright future. We'll see what David Egan thinks very shortly. Seventh Kingdom, the 6-5 market leader, winning the 140. We've been over at Moulin a little bit earlier on today. Compiègne, by the way, comes on board with Race Day Live and Sean Boyce a little bit later on. But these were the winners of the 6 races we showed you from Moulin. We had 3 winning favourites. Persia got us off the mark in the first race at 9-2. Aubière made it second time lucky in the 10:30. Luna Spiago.
Particularly interesting up in trip and having been gelded.
Yeah, a lot of these have been, there's 3 that have been gelded.
Readily to beat Gallerin into second at 25-1, with Goût de Bonheur at 8-1.
You would imagine that would improve with a nice went on their back going forward. So it's, 5 really likeable types, and it wouldn't be surprising that they all take a big jump forward for their first time out start. But They're really exciting handicappers going forward for the year.
Morisco, Man of the Night, are the top rated in there off 93. For you, is that a fair representation that they have the best bits of form and therefore are the highest rated?
Yeah, I think Morisco definitely for me was probably the pick of the horses that have run form-wise and really likeable type. At times was a little bit slowly into stride. Might be an issue for...
Well, they're all individuals, aren't they? You know, you have to use your eyes as well as reading their pedigree. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here. Last one going forward. Let's join David.
And Morisco is the final one to load. So 5 runners set to race over a mile and a quarter, and they're off in this It's Not Rocket Science with Mansion Bet handicap. A good start from Tell Me All and also by Gold Souk, and these are the front two early on. Just sitting in behind and just pulling quite hard under Ryan Moore is Man of the Night. He's taking that one back now into 4th, just behind It's Good to Laugh, and Morisco is the early back marker, probably 5 lengths behind the now definite leader, and that is Gold Souk under Joe Fanning, leading by just under a length. To Tell Me All in 2nd. It's Good to Laugh is in 3rd place, going quite enthusiastically. Moore has got Man of the Night under control in 4th position, probably 6 lengths behind the leaders. Now pace looks decent enough, and Morisco is last of the quintet under Richard Kingscote as they're on their run away from the far side. Gold Souk leads the way to Tell Me All and Luke Morris in 2nd position, Tom Marquand and It's Good to Laugh racing in 3rd. Just running with the choke out a little bit. In 4th place is Man of the Night, and still Morisco continues to be the back marker here. These 5 unexposed 3-year-olds head into the home straight. They've gone by halfway. The white-faced Gold Souk has the advantage still. To Tell Me All in 2nd place, a length down with It's Good to Laugh in 3rd. Man of the Night is just being nudged along to get closer. Morisco makes ground quite stylishly on the outside. The red and blue, Richard Kingscote hasn't blinked yet as the field now run down towards the final 3 furlongs here. Morisco making a move on the outside, just got a flick down the shoulder. Tell Me All held together. Gold Souk is shaken up. It's Good to Laugh in behind, and Man of the Night is buried amongst horses at the moment. There isn't much room. Moore's going to have to come right to the outside on Man of the Night. Morisco's had a lovely run through, and now comes to take the lead Morisco with just over a furlong to go. Morisco, Tell Me All, It's Good to Laugh. Man of the Night closing in on the outside under Ryan Moore. Still got a length to find. Morisco hasn't finished this off just yet. It's Good to Laugh on the inner, on the outer. Man of the Night. Morisco is plucky, however, and Morisco is doing enough to repel the challengers. Morisco wins for Dascombe and Kingscote. 2nd, It's Good to Laugh. In 3rd, Man of the Night didn't get the greatest run through the race. Tell Me All back in 4th, and then Gold Souk.
Morisco has won, and that's a success for Richard Kingscote and Tom Dascombe, and I felt it was brewing because they had their horses running so well here last night and in general, and it's good to see Morisco picking up last season as he left on with a nice smooth success, moving into things on the outside here really readily to pick up the long-time leader Gold Souk, who's under pressure and has faded. Also having faded is Tell Me All. Weaving up the inside and not going away is Good to Laugh, and then Ryan Moore, who took Man of the Night back to try and get him some cover, to try and keep him settled because he was going too hard in the early stages. He was looking for a way through, couldn't find it, and at the 2 furlong marker had to switch to the outside. Do you think that has made any difference between with getting 1st or 2nd as compared to 3rd, George?
Maybe might have finished 2nd, but I thought the winner was very impressive. As we see from the start, Richard Kingscote was keen to get this horse into a rhythm, and he was last year was always a very strong travelling type, and was prepared to take him back, to take it off him in a small field and get him into a rhythm. But he moved up in plenty of time. Obviously they have no concerns about the 10 furlongs and rode him that way. He got him rolling in plenty of time, and the way he conducted himself through the race was very impressive. But the confidence Richard had in him to get him rolling plenty of time was noticeable.
You can really see Man of Night over-racing there, can't you, even still at this point?
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, Ryan would have liked to have sat last and not had Richard sort of on his quarters. It was just setting him alight a little bit. As we see, Ryan's brilliant in these situations. He's taken him off the front 3, but Richard still sat on his quarters, and the horses never really left him alone after that.
And what do you make of Gold Souk? You tentatively brought up the point about Stammer. Do you think it was that failed him, or did he get outspeeded? Which was it at the end?
He was just ultimately disappointed. I think he was probably beaten too far to say it was lack of stamina for me. He relaxed on the front end, ears pricked under Joe Fanning, as Mark Johnson's horses tend to do. Very straightforward. I'd say there's more to it than just blaming the trip. And I would have thought that it would be just a fact-finding mission to work out why he ran so poorly. But I think there's a bit more to it than just blaming the trip for me.
This is a really silky move on the outside from Morisco in this company, isn't it? He's just come through so easily for Richard.
Yeah, I was surprised because Richard obviously had no concerns about the trip. Got him rolling in plenty of time, and it was, I suppose, he knows the horses fairly well from Tom's. Obviously, he goes in there and rides out, and that's one of the advantages to be able to do that. You know the horses inside out, and he rode him accordingly. And I thought it was a really smart performance. And he got there, and he looked like he was lacking concentration under pressure. And when Richard really organised him, the last sort of furlong, I thought he galloped through the line quite well. But I believe if something had come to him, he'd have found a bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think there's some improvement. I'm impressed with the way that It's Good to Laugh would not go away on that inside rail.
Yeah, he looked, for me, a little bit rusty, but I was kind of thinking, is that the break? But he has had a tendency to do that in the past, hasn't he? And he was quite tight for room, so I don't know whether he was slightly intimidated by the winner, and maybe there might be a bit of improvement for that if he had a bit more room, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the head-on shows that he's just wanting to lug right all the time, isn't he? And Tom Marquand's having to use his on the right-hand side just to stop him lugging off that inside rail.
Yeah, I think he was tight for room, and these sort of young, inexperienced horses can... some horses are, I don't know what the word is, claustrophobic, you could say.
Yeah, that's the right word.
And maybe just if he'd had a bit more daylight, I think he probably would have finished a bit closer, but I just believe that Richard's horse would have found a bit more if he...
Who was good when winning at Sandown last time, that was 107 days ago. The Bella Fever form prior to that is very good. Incidentally, that runner now back over here with Jane Chapel-Harm, I think, and the second that day came out run winning the 1,000 guineas. So that's a good bit of form. Interested by the step back in trip, actually, with Well of Wisdom, who's got to give a fair bit of weight away to Ascension in what is another tricky 3-year-old handicap. There they are going down, and there is the grey son of Dark Angel, Ascension. Here's Nick.
Thank you, Tom. You'd have a better handle than me on what Well of Wisdom was really achieving in those races in Sandown, but I think he's got a little bit on conceding weight to some quite promising types here. I sort of made my case for Impressor, but I could equally make good cases for one or two others. I'm sure Martin has a good view on this. Martin, it's quite a nice little race, this.
It's a good race, yeah, full of quality and horses that had good 2-year-old seasons in the main as well, Nick. So, no, it's an interesting race. I'm not sure how many of them are actually that well handicapped, however. Well of Wisdom, you've touched on him. We know that he is a smart horse. He's won 2 listed races. He's got group placed form. But the handicapper, therefore, has a lot to hang on with him. And he's very likeable. He's very straightforward. He will run his race, but I think he's probably vulnerable to something with a few more pounds in hand. The favourite, Ascension, is the horse that I would have had at the top of the market as well. I look at him down at the bottom of the weights. I liked the way that he was progressing last season. He showed a really good turn of foot when he won at Salisbury and won very easily in August of last year. And at Newmarket on that final start, I agree with your comments. He did meet trouble in running going into the dip. And but for that, I think he might have gone very close, actually, to Tom.
Ready. They're off. They come out fairly decent line, although Ascension from store number 1, in fact, is a little slower than the others to get away. The Royal Blue of Well of Wisdom is the first one to show in front, right up there, light blue and orange colours of Sesame, Beera and Monosky on the extreme right. Impressive with red sleeves, and against the running rail, Surf Dancer in the green and orange colours. That is the leading quintet as they leave the back straight. In behind those is Tomfrey, 2 lengths behind and running in 6th place. Then Ascension, light and dark blue colours around the outside of Oh Purple Rain in the purple, who's now at the rear of the field, as Monoski is just about to put his head in front on the outside of Well of Wisdom as they level up for home and count down to the halfway stage. In behind those is Sesame Bearer towards the right in light blue colours. Tucked away on the running rail is Surf Dancer right in the centre. Red Sleeves Impressor looking for a route out. Ascension is on the right there with Sylvester de Souza making up ground down the centre. Tomfrey is 3 from the left looking for a route through as Ascension now is popped a question up on the outside of Well of Wisdom, but Surf Dancer and Jason Watson banged there as well in the green against the running rail. Heading down towards the last furlong in blue in the centre. Well of Wisdom trying to give weight away to Surf Dancer in green. Ascension is in behind those. This trio as they race up towards the line. Tomfrey flying through. It's Well of Wisdom to Tomfrey, who's gaining with every stride. Judge will have to decide. Ascension a length and a half behind him in third, and Surf Dancer another length and a half back in fourth.
Tight, Well of Wisdom and Tomfrey. Might be in that order. Camera operator thinks it is in that order. Deceptive angle here at Sandown. That evidence seems to suggest Well of Wisdom has held on and conceded the weight. Either which way, Tomfrey did not have a clear passage through. And if he has lost, he will be considered, I think, an unfortunate loser. Certainly bears looking at again. There'll be one or two ruining their ill fortune here. Not just perhaps backers and connections of Tomfrey, but also backers and connections of Ascension, who walked out of the stalls and then had to make his ground very rapidly right down the outside into the hottest part of the race. Here we go. Yep, Well of Wisdom's held on for William Buick and Charlie Appleby. Second was Tomfrey, third was Ascendant, and fourth was Surf Dancer, who really laid it down to Well of Wisdom for a long way, and it was to Well of Wisdom's credit that he dug in. However, he didn't do Surf Dancer many favours, and Surf Dancer, well, his connections and backers will feel a little unfortunate that he was pretty much knocked over against the rail, which might have cost him a place at least. Quite a messy race here at Sandown Park. Tomfrey, the pale colours third from the left, didn't get all the splits that Rob Hornby wanted and had horses in front of him. He'd like to have gone between Well of Wisdom and Surf Dancer. That wasn't going to happen. Then Well of Wisdom came off a true line and, oh dear, head on makes it look worse. Nearly knocks over Surf Dancer against the rail. Stewards will have a look at that. Interesting, Martin. The klaxon's gone. Quite a bit to pick out of that.
He swept through from off the pace to make his headway towards the front and maybe even hit the front at one point up the straight, but the damage is done because, you know, he's given himself a 5-length handicap really straight out of the stalls.
We'll get back on course with Nick very shortly. This is the point where William Buick asks Well of Wisdom to go clear. It's not immediate. George, who's next to me, who I'll just bring you in on this as well, just as far as race riding goes in the closing stages, what's your take?
So William's got his stick in his left hand. Obviously they were tight for room, the upsides. As soon as his horse had gone clear and rolled towards the rail, Williams put his stick down, straightened the horse up. So from a steward's point of view, Williams done everything right. But he's obviously caused a massive amount of interference to the horse on the rail. But up to that point, he'd done everything right, if that makes sense.
Wonder if we'll just see that for a little bit longer. Your point being that the interference has happened as Well of Wisdom has started to get on top and started to go clear.
Yeah, so once he's up on the other horse, Williams' horse is rolled towards the rail under left-hand drive. But the stewards, all they want you to do in these scenarios when your horse does move, they want you to put your stick down and straighten the horse up. As you can see, it's tight here, but there's still room for the other horse on the rail. It's very, very tight. And Williams sort of getting on top up at this point, still under a left-hand drive. The horse has stayed straight there. And once he's gone sort of half length up on the other horse, he rolls to the rail when the other horse is dropping back. And it was, from a steward's point of view, when you go in there, what they want you to do is to put your stick down and straighten the horse up, and that's what Williams done as soon as he felt and moved back towards the rail.
Nick, I think you're back with us. Martin is still with us as well. That's George Baker's take on the closing stages from a race riding point of view. It was a dramatic little affair.
It was an extremely dramatic affair. That's a real understatement. And every time you look at that head-on, that interference is more marked. And it's just a question of whether the stewards determine that to be, or what level of interference they determine that to be, as regards A, what, if any, penalty they dish out to William Buick, and B, whether it might affect the result. I suspect that the latter outcome is decidedly unlikely. But we will find out in a few moments' time. The horse on the inside did just edge off the rail and give the winner a little bit of a bump, but it certainly wasn't enough to merit what happened thereafter. And there was still plenty of room to go through that gap for Surf Dancer when the gap was closed on him by Well of Wisdom, who was responding to a left-hand drive from William Buick. He did put his stick down, as George said, but did he put it down in time? And you could argue that, as I said earlier, Tom Frey was a little unlucky. He didn't get the clearest of runs through, and Ascension missed the break. So, for all it was fortuitous, perhaps, Well of Wisdom was the winner and did well to defy a big weight, Tom. Here are the SPs.
Yeah, I'm back in trip as well. Well of Wisdom 9-2. William Buick, Charlie Appy in the Godolphin colours. Tom Free kept on for second, 5-1. Ascension, the 5-2 joint favourite, was back in third. And there is an ongoing stewards' inquiry, which we'll bring you news of as and when we get it. At the time we can see is 128.59. 128.59 is 1.89 outside of the standard. It's the quickest furlong per furlong so far, markedly quicker than our previous race over that same course and distance.
Yeah, really looking forward to this race, one of the more competitive on the card, and there goes horse number 9 coming forward, which is Clocker's Corner, the horse that Sean was just talking about, of Archie Watson, into stall 1. Edrak, for me, the fact that this horse up to today's distance of 7 furlong, I think that could prove key. A very big, imposing individual. Looks like there's plenty of scope still to come. Form from the all-weather has worked out well, and even though it was a competitive race, the last day, it kind of fell apart a little bit. A couple of horses were withdrawn at the start. They didn't go a very strong gallop, but he won quite convincingly, and that's all you really need to see. So an exciting horse that's still unexposed, a horse that's very consistent, representing a good combination of Paul Mulrennan and Michael Dodds is Gale Force Mayo. They're all in. Let's get up for commentary.
They're off and racing for the Sky Sports Racing Sky 415 handicap. And early on, Muntadab, no surprises to see him helping to blaze the trail down the near side, the purple and white jacket. Over to the far side, a couple of them go, they sparkle a lot, and Clocker's Corner. But all of the others are racing more towards the near side, with Muntadab heading that much bigger group over Gale Force Mayor and Edrak, the market leader in the black and red colours, going along a little bit keenly, just ahead of Presidential and Glenamoy Lad, working back to find Star Shield, who's in the light blue. Boston George is keeping company with that one, as is Hajam, and Zap is a couple of lengths adrift of them at the back end of the field as they gallop on towards the halfway stage. And up ahead, Muntadab in the sheepskin noseband, and on the far side, Sparkle a Lot, who's now just being nudged along. Gale Force Mayor looks quite menacing just back in behind them, as does Clocker's Corner in the pink jacket, with in behind runners Edrak, and then comes Presidential from Hajam on the far side as Muntadab kicks for home here inside the final 2 furlongs. Muntadab now is being challenged on the far side by Gale Force Mayor. One from the left is Presidential, on the left is Edrak, further back to Star Shield, and then Clocker's Corner over to the far side. Inside the last furlong they come. Presidential now coming through to lay down the latest challenge to Muntadab. Presidential and Muntadab, they're head-to-head inside the final 100 yards, and Presidential just getting on top as they go close home. It's a double for Ben Curtis. Presidential beating into second position Muntadab. It's a 1-2 for trainer Roger Fell. On the far side, Gale Force Mayor, near side Star Shield. A little break back in behind those to Sparkle a Lot.
It's another winner for trainer Roger Fell, this time Presidential coming home in front in the hands of Ben Curtis, who's back here with another victory, and he's just managed to keep at bay Mutadab in second place. Once again, the pace from the front proving one of the places to be, but you'll see just behind Mutadab at this stage, Presidential being chivied along, pushed just to get going a little bit, build it out alongside Edrak. Edrak, unfortunately, hasn't been able to really be involved at the finish. Not too sure, can't really find an excuse, but Gale Force Mayer, who also travelled well into the race on the right of the picture in the yellow and red, has again run very consistently, a nice each-way price of 10 to 1. Not convinced, maybe Edrak out a bit too quickly. It's very disappointing there, coming home last of the bunch. You could say maybe he's not got home over going up to 7 furlongs, or just completely flopped today. But he was moving incredibly well, but disappointing. But Presidential, who we last saw finishing at midfield back in November up at Newmarket, has been very competitive this afternoon off a mark of just 84, and he's got back to winning ways, back down to his last winning mark as well. So Shawnee's run very much to form, Presidential.
He has indeed had him very well backed as well. 1-2 for Roger Fell. We had Carl Burke getting a forecast up earlier on, and Roger Fell's repeated the dose later on the card. Presidential beats his stablemate Muntadab 9-2 and 9-1. This was more like an 8-1 shot earlier on, Presidential, so very well backed in the market. Another winner for Ben Curtis, 9-2 Presidential. Muntadab second at 9-1. Gale Force Mayer is in there in third place at 10-1. Crocker's Corner ran okay, was prominent throughout, was just in behind the key players at the finish. Star Shield catches the eye a little bit running on late on. That had been nibbled at in the market. But Edrak very disappointing, as Haley has already observed, just fading out of it, Edrak, at this stage, and no obvious excuse for him. We'll see how he progresses from here on in. But Presidential 9-2 from Muntadab at 9-1, and Gale Force Mayer, the chestnut there with the noseband, in third at 10-1 at Doncaster. A little bit of give in the ground, quite testing conditions, and Edrak, who was an impressive winner at Newcastle over 6, maybe found 7 a bit too much today. Who knows, but perhaps he hasn't given his running. That's what happened.
Novice Company in August, and was a creditable 6th at Group 3 level in the Scepter Stakes behind a breathtaking Look. She didn't like the soft so much last time, and she's from the very classy family of Jazzy and Izzy Top.
Still no news from Sandown, that Stewart's inquiry, but we'll bring you it as and when we get it. 2.25 at Newbury, Mubtasima 100 to 30, Miss Celestial 7 to 2, Foxtrot Lady Phyton Fozine 6 to 1. So it's relatively static. Miss Celestial's just been nibbled in at this stage. 9 go. Who's the best of them to your mind, George?
I think it's a very, very open race. On ratings, they're all quite on top of each other. Obviously, we've got the Snowdrop form, a couple of them, Foxtrot Lady and Viva Gloria. I thought Viva Gloria ran with a great deal of credit. First run for Jane Chapel-Hyam. Travelled extremely well under John Egan, almost too strong. I think dropping back to 7 furlongs, she represents a value for me. I know she was fully effective over 8 furlongs in Germany, but I think the drop back to 7 on this ground will be a perfect trip for gig for her, and I would have thought she represents a bit of value at sort of 12 to 1.
For a yard that I know they've only had one winner, but a few of their horses in particular have been outrunning their odds. Ambassadorial was one of those. They had the one winner, Jane Chapel-Hyam, with On My Way, who was very good, could well go to the Albany. So I think they've started off pretty well. Should come out of stall number 11. No problem, given what we've seen so far.
I think she's pretty straightforward. I think they'll congregate towards
David Fitzgerald, and he can call this race run in memory of half Hangit Maggie.
I was fascinated by your history lesson there, Lydia, and we shall see who comes out on top. It's just final option to go forward. Final option is going to be the last one. Stall 8 is where she's heading, and they're all in, and they're off. And Dancing Feet just leapt in the air as the stalls opened. Wasn't the best away, neither was Final Option in the Watch and Bet with Mansion Bet at Newbury. Maggie Dixon Fillies Stakes. Mubtasima well to the fore early. Dancing Feet is keen. Hatea is up there, the white, yellow and orange, and Foxtrot Lady, a light blue hat over on the far side just ahead of Sunday Star. Final Option is over towards the far side of the field, more towards the near side. The grey Viva Gloria just chased along. Miss Celestial is held up, and just in midfield, the black with white spots is Farzine. So the overall leader might just be Dancing Feet. Dancing Feet on the near side, but has run very free as they're now at halfway. Foxtrot Lady the far side, in between them Mubtasima going okay. Hatea still on the premises. Farzine is next. Sunday Star, Miss Celestial, Viva Gloria still chased along, and ditto Final Option at the back as the field with now 2.5 furlongs left to cover. Dancing Feet challenged by Mubtasima. Farzine trying to come in between them. Sunday Star, the light blue, still just tracking Mubtasima. Foxtrot Lady has hung right over towards the far side, has surrendered all chance. Miss Celestial is staying on well the white sleeves under Luke Morris is driving on the near side. Running inside the last furlong, Mubtasima chased by Miss Celestial and Sunday Star. Mubtasima still with the advantage. Miss Celestial tried to close but just ducking in, and Mubtasima is going to win listed laurels in the Maggie Dixon. Second home, Miss Celestial, another listed placing, then Sunday Star. Farzine back in fourth.
Mubtasima has won the listed Maggie Dixon for trainer William Haggis. It's a double on the card for James Doyle, who was in the winner's enclosure earlier with Fortune and Glory for Joe Chewett. In second is Miss Celestial for Luke Morris and St Mark Prescott, and third was Sunday Star for Tom Marquand and Ed Walker. I really see what you meant, George, about the way in which this filly travelled, because she's gone through this race really strongly.
Yeah, it was very fluid performance, and James Doyle always looked confident and travelling smoothly. And when he let her down, just approaching the final furlong, it looked like Miss Celestial was going to sort of join her, and she actually was picked up quite quickly, and it was a very smooth performance. She really points her toe. She's a smart moving filly, and I'd imagine she's going to, at this sort of trip, she's going to be a decent filly for the season.
We'll take it from the start, and a bit of an awkward start from Dancing Feet straight away.
Yeah, just very slowly into stride, but I think they just went, just looking at them, Holly Doyle was racing a little bit with a choke out on Dancing Feet and let her stride on, and they just went, I think they went an even gallop. James is obviously down the middle of the track on the winner in a nice smooth rhythm, travelling strongly but happily and not overdoing things.
What do you make of her action, George, the winner?
As I say, she really points her toe. I think, for me, I think she looks like she wants quick ground, but she's been fully effective on soft ground. So I think she's obviously quite versatile with the ground, but she's quite an exuberant mover, if that makes sense. She really points her toe.
She really is. Miss Celestial's having to work quite hard to try and get into things here, whereas the winner's moving really easily.
Yeah, it's noticeable. Sunday Star, who's following the winner through, travelled nicely. First start for the season, obviously, and I saw her even in stables recently. She's done very well physically from 3 to 4, Sunday Star, and I would imagine she would want the ground to be seen to best effect. She's run extremely well in this listed race, but probably would want good to firm ground to be seen to really good effect, I would have thought.
She's effective at 6 as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she's quite a quick filly, and I think they'll be keen to get her on a quick surface, and I think 6 or 7 furlongs, but 6 furlongs would not be a concern for sure.
Foxtrot Lady really has thrown what chance she had right away with that hanging to her left.
Yeah, it was remarkable how quickly she did it under a right-hand drive. David was quick to switch his stick, but something's obviously not quite right there. It looked more like there was an issue rather than her being Larry, if that makes sense. Yeah,
very much so, agreed, because it happened so suddenly and it's so marked. Absolutely. Anything else that you'd pick out?
I just thought that the sort of front three are really likeable fillies going forward, and I just love the way that the winner's travelled under James. He was very confident on her, and when he actually asked her for effort, sometimes it can be quite noticeable that when James sort of let her down, she really dropped down and quickened up, and it was a very impressive performance, and I think she looked like she'd physically come on a little bit for this, but she'll be good fun going forward for the season.
be interested to see where they might go with it. The Oak Tree Stakes maybe is a 7 furlong race for Group 3 race for fillies at the Goodwood meeting.
I would have thought that would be the difficult thing is with as William knows with a very good filly he's obviously got, it's quite hard to place these 7 furlong fillies. So obviously you've got the Oak Tree Stakes, which is a perfect fit, and then you've got the likes of the Park Stakes later on in the year. That but they're few and far between the 7 furlong opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. But this filly seems to be an improved model and a nice, smooth success here, bringing up a double for James Doyle and listed success for William Haggis.
Yeah, Mubtasima 11-4 favourite, James Doyle, William Haggis, the winner in a good time as well, 122.55. Come to that. Miss Celestial second, 7-2. Sunday Star third at 18-1. Mubtasima the winner. And the time was 1:22.55. Inside half a second outside. That's the quickest time furlong per furlong so far. It's a good time. Right, betting at Sandown Park looks like this. Lazuli is 15-8. Sunday Sovereign 2-1. Dream Shot and Alrea are 7-1. 8 or Lathan 28-1 and bigger the final pair. This is the Unibet Scurry Stakes, and here they are in the paddock.
Back here at Sandown Park ahead of our feature race, which is due off at 2:40, and I'll spin you through the septet. And we'll start with Lazuli, who has to be very near the top of your shortlist here, top of mine anyway. Second time after a wind operation. That was a fantastic run last Saturday at Newmarket when trying to concede weight to a very tough, progressive and consistent 3-year-old sprinter in Rocky Bear. Repeated that, and he's right there for William Buick and Charlie Appleby, looking for a double after the results stood after the last race. The horse behind, number 3, is Sunday Sovereign. Now, we haven't seen this horse for nearly a year when he was disappointing at Royal Ascot. And this is his first start for Roger Varian. He'd been sold to King Power just before Royal Ascot, having won twice in Ireland. He's developed quite unexpectedly well for a horse that you might have thought was just an early season 2-year-old last year. And I think that's the most important thing that I can tell you from his paddock appearance. Number 1. Number 5 behind is a pretty filly, Alrea. Now, this is quite a smart piece of placing because she was a winner of a Group 3 at Chantilly, but because it was before the 31st of August, she escapes a penalty for that Group 3 success. So she gets in here quite nicely at the weights. She's also, I'd say, a fairly strong candidate for the lead early. She wears the red hood in the prelims. She likes to get on with things. And she might enjoy the run of the race. Alrea for Simon and Ed Crisford and Robert Havlin. And the one we haven't seen, or the ones we haven't seen, are Keep Busy and Hand on My Heart, the 2 fillies. And Keep Busy we can have a look at, number 4, who is over the far side of the paddock. She's a tremendous filly by Night of Thunder, who deservedly won a listed race at the back end of last year. She's so well named. She's out of a mare that was just a brilliantly redoubtable, never say die customer who ran every day for Alan Berry, and she looks very much in that mould. Although she's up against it here on ratings, she's really tenacious. She's in stall 1. I wouldn't be amazed if she grabbed a bit of the minor money, that's for sure. So you've seen 6 of the 7 here in the Unibet Scurry Stakes. 5 furlongs is the trip.
Lazuli is 7-4 here. Sunday Sovereign is 9-4. Dream Shot is 7-1. Alrea is 7-1. Olea 15-2. 33-1 and bigger the final pair for this listed contest. The Unibet Scurry Stakes over the 5 at Sandown. News that no days for William Buick after the interference with Well of Wisdom. So result stands. No days at all. Lots of interference, but no repercussions, Nick.
I must confess to being slightly surprised, but the stewards felt that the manoeuvre, well, it wasn't a manoeuvre as such, but the horse's movement into the 4th placed horse was something that was unavoidable. It would happen so quickly away from William Buick's whip that he snatched up the winner as fast as he possibly could have done. You can watch that over and over again and draw your own conclusions. I must confess to being slightly surprised, but that's what the stewards have determined here. 7-4 Lazuli here to give William Buick and Charlie Appleby a quick double. Excellent run, really excellent run at Newmarket last weekend when trying to concede weight to a very tough and tenacious sprinter. I suppose the question is, A, does he have the same conditions? Not quite. It's a little bit softer today here at Sandown, particularly on this 5 furlong course. And B, will this come quick enough off the back of that? And is he possible candidate to bounce? I will pose both those questions to Martin Dixon.
I certainly don't think the drop in trip is a problem, Nick. I thought he ran like he would be suited by going back to 5, particularly in a strongly run race that looks signed on here. As for the quick turnaround, it wouldn't worry me too much. I'll just trust Charlie Appleby on that. He's one of the best trainers in the world. If he thinks the horse is showing him the right signs to be running again, I think we can take it as a given that he should be showing his form and his true colours again today.
Yeah, he showed bundles of pace. I thought it was a really nice performance. Martin, where did you think the pace might come from? I suspected Al Rhea might get it up front, and I thought it was a nice bit of placing because she gets away without the penalty for the Group 3 win.
Forward then, straight 5 furlongs. Olathe is in, and they're lined up. They're off. Al Rhea and Sunday Sovereign, the two marginally slower than the others away from the stalls. Lazuli got out well, and Hand on My Heart in the maroon and beige is free down the centre of the course. Then on the running rail is Keep Busy. White and red cap for Dream Shot is alongside her. Blue and white colours, Sunday Sovereign is now up in the middle of the field. And then the red cap of Olathe is nearest to us, and Al Rhea in the red and white colours at the rear of the field. They're very well bunched here as they head down past halfway. William Buick in blue on Lazuli kicks on for the winning post now. Goes on by a length and a half. Dream Shot and Keep Busy together in second and third places. They're readily clear from Sunday Sovereign back in third, and Lazuli 3 or 4 lengths clear now inside the last furlong, and this is going to romp home. Lazuli and William Buick just edging towards the centre of the course, but they're miles clear. Won it in great style. Keep Busy will be second. Dream Shot in third. Al Rhea moved through into fourth position, laid on from Olathe, Hand on My Heart and Sunday Sovereign.
Well, nothing controversial about this victory. That was as easy as it's going to get for William Buick all season, I suspect. Lazuli has absolutely bolted up in this race, has done so with a minimum of fuss, and follows up an excellent performance last weekend at Newmarket by coming back in trip and showing himself all about brazen pace. Gelding by Dubawi out of Floristry. He's won this for Godolphin, and he's done so in fine style. Doubles for the trainer, doubles for the jockey. Keep Busy's run a super race in second. I'm not that surprised that she's run well for minor money, as I said beforehand, because she's just hard as nails. I think she's going to thrive on racing, and she'll give her connection loads and loads of fun, and probably make a nice broodmare as well. And she split a very good horse in Lazuli and a pretty good horse in Dream Shot, with the others well strung out. The horses we thought might grab a share of the lead were the two slowest away from the stalls, Al Rhea and Sunday Sovereign, and in truth the former never really threatened, and the latter petered out rather disappointingly. Orla and stable companion Hand on My Heart haven't shown too much today, but they could realistically be expected to improve for the run, and certainly all of Red Cap, the outside, has just stayed on a little under hands and heels. But your eye was always drawn to Lazuli, who was just bounding further away and was comfortably in command at the line, in spite of being geared down and drifting off a true line. Martin Dixon, what did you think of that?
Brazen speed, as you say. It was a really good performance for him. There was a moment about 100 yards into the race that William Buick was having a look around him to see what was going to give him a lead. And the answer was nothing, so he decided to crack on with things. That was a little bit of a worry for me. If you go back to Doncaster last year, when this horse won as a 2-year-old, he idled markedly out in front and nearly threw the race away. But ultimately, I think that is the most impressive part of the performance, the way that he really rips away from them in the latter stages. And we can see from that, when you contrast him last year as a 2-year-old and looking around greenly and idling out in front of Donny, and contrast that to what he's done today, and you can see how mature he is in comparison, how much he's improving, and he's the improver in the field. There are others in this field like Al Rhea, like Sunday Sovereign, who probably have left their careers behind as 2-year-olds in truth, and this horse has got it all before him. I'm sure he'll keep on progressing, and quite rightly we'll have some group race targets to come next.
Yeah, this is a really good performance from Lazuli. I think we've seen a sprinter of real quality here, and I've no doubt we'll be seeing him in the highest level pattern company before the season's out. And Charlie Appleby must be very excited, I should think. I think this is a race to be pretty positive about, and Tom will tidy up the SPs.
Yes, most certainly. Yard waved goodbye to a pretty good sprinter last year, and well, Lazalay's got a way to go to be at the very top level, but a nice performance in listed cover.
He was worth giving another chance to. We saw the hope behind a youthful sort. He's got an opening mark of 79. Lampang won the race up at Carlisle. So I do think that the gelding, slightly different ground conditions that he's never raced on before. He's by Dark Angel. I think he could be quite an interesting horse at big odds here. The loading up process underway here in what are now glorious conditions, very warm indeed here, so it's certainly, if you've got a horse sweating up, don't worry about it too much. Dane O'Neill has had a good start to the new season. I think we'll see him and the class jockey that he is with a few good opportunities on here, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. It is certainly hot. Not really sure how many are left to load. We are at post time. There's Black Caspian just coming forward into stall 4. And there is Danya. Looking forward to seeing him back out again. And there's strong support coming in for Danya up in trip today. And certainly a horse that should enjoy these conditions. Dulles did wake up when Harry Bentley got on him before he left the parade ring. He's one of the favourites here. Let's get the call.
Lined up. And they're off. A slightly awkward beginning for Always Fearless. For this, the free tips daily on attheraces.com handicap. Away sharply, Black Caspian takes them through the first of the 7 furlongs, ahead of Abstemious in second, and then over to the far side, Silver Mission. They're being chased through by Fan Zone. With racing then more towards the near side, Always Fearless, catching up a little bit now following that tardy beginning, with Delas also bang there now in the dark blue and yellow halves. Back in behind runners is Dania, who's in blue and white colours. Back end of the field are Black Castle Storm and finally Alban Spirit, as the field then make their way down towards the final 3 furlongs. They're near enough at halfway, and up ahead to the far side, Abstemious over Always Fearless and Delas. They're being chased through by Black Caspian. Jamais Assez, the blue sleeves, is following. That one being chased through by Dania, and then over towards the near side, Black Castle Storm. Fanzo now dropping back as they make the run down towards the final 2 furlongs, and up ahead, Abstemious in the hands of Rowan Scott leads up by a length and a half over Jamais Assez. More towards the near side, Black Castle Storm in the purple and white. On the far side, Black Caspian hasn't given up as they make the run down inside the final furlong now, and Dania coming through to show in front. Under a furlong to go, Dania's booted on by a couple of lengths very quickly. From Abstemious, the far side of Black Castle Storm is running on, but this in the end will comfortably go the way to Dania on his handicapping debut. Scores well, beating Black Castle Storm into second place. Back in third, Abstemious, and over the line next, Black Caspian.
Dania has put in an impressive performance in the closing stages there for trainer Owen Burrows and Dane O'Neill in the saddle here. He was well backed beforehand. We mentioned the market move that was pretty solid, and this unexposed son of Invincible Stirrup has gone up an extra furlong here today and absolutely relished the step up in trip, getting the better from his rivals in very taking fashion. We'll pick it up here. You'll see he's just behind the market leader Dulles, who in the end plugs on for second, and Abstemious in third. But Dania off the bridle here, raced in the hood as he did at Kempton, coming back from his gelding operation. He proved a liking for ease in the ground when we saw him on debut at Nottingham August last year. And the conditions on the slow side here today, you can see he's got quite a big round action on him as well, quite a powerful moving sort. That's a little bit better, that graphic. Black Castle Storm in second, I thought that was the case. 6 to 1, he's run well for Richard Hughes and Danny Tudhope. And back in third, Abstemious as well. But Dania definitely home very comfortably indeed, getting the better of Black Castle Storm at 6-1 and Abstemious in third at 11-1. I thought Black Caspian did run a better race than what we'd seen last time out. Hopefully the Son of Dark Angel will build on this effort for Kevin Ryan. He was involved with that bunch about a furlong and a half from home, but Dania, certainly in a league of his own, has made it a mark of 83 look very uncomplicated and straightforward. I think he's going to really improve, even build on this. Right of picture, there is Caspian. He's come back from quite a long layoff as well. I know a lot of these are, but I hadn't seen him since the middle of last year, so I think he'll build on that. But Black Castle Storm lost nothing in defeat. I think this winner is pretty smart, Sean.
Yeah, done it very comfortably in the end, Dania. Both the first and second have come from a little way off the pace. Interestingly, the first couple of furlongs were quite fast, weren't they? You saw those fractionals popping up on your screen there. Black Castle Storm, I thought, was coming to win the race, actually, when he started his challenge, but I was reckoning without Dania, who stormed away in the end for Owen Burrows, the trainer, in those Sandown Al Maktoum colours, and he could be quite decent, Dania, as Haley suggested there, because he's done it really pretty comfortably in the end, you'd have to say. Dania 11-2. Black Castle Storm runs well in second at 6-1. Abstemious, who was backed at big prices, 20-1 earlier on, has hit the frame back in third. A little bit disappointing, Doulas, you'd have to say, for Charlie Hills, who's in the yellow cap there. He's got himself very warm, as you can see on that side-on shot there, and that may be part of an explanation there. Maybe he's just run his race in the preliminaries for whatever reason. Doulas, he was just a little bit on his toes, wasn't he? We saw when it came to be time to be legged up, so maybe he's just got a bit stressed today and not produced his form, Doulas, but he's on the face of it rather disappointing. Alban Spirit running on quite well late on. First time in a handicap for Richard Fahey, first time since being gelded. Might be other days for him. Chamois Essays run okay, but Dania just too good, and Dane O'Neill could bide his time and then commit at the time of his own choosing. Really had an easy gap to go through and quickened away. Dania 11-2. Black Castle Storm 6-1 from right out the back. Stalked through on the near side but couldn't get there. Abstemious third at 11-1. Donny, we'll get more winning reaction after the break.
She is a big unit and very likeable type, and I suppose they're the best ones to have, aren't they? The ones that don't show very much at home and do it on the track. So why wouldn't you step her up to listed class after a performance like that first time out?
It's an interesting where this race falls with regards to where it normally falls, I suppose, with those that might step forward into the Oaks. And given the rearranged season, well, it still falls in good time, you would think. So I wonder where or how and where they will be campaigned, the winner of this.
Definitely, I think it was a very good mating, Kingman to Madame Chang. Bit of speed in there. She's going to stay very well. She's a really likeable attitude. She backed up quite quickly after her first start at Newmarket, where she made a really nice start to winning at Kempton at the beginning of November. And she could be anything, as David Simcox said. You have to try these races early doors until they disappoint you. You've got to train them with that in mind, the Oaks in mind as such.
Absolutely, and Shatha has rather forced her way into the picture with that success at Kempton last week. It's become very gusty here at Newbury, and the wind has got much stronger in the last half hour. So if you're seeing some skittish behaviour down the start, which you are, that rather explains it. And Cavaletta's getting upset in the stalls infrastructure. That would be rattling around, and these gusts are really quite strong, so let's hope she can calm down. The last one to go forward then is Oriental Mystique. I'm going to go and hand over to David Fitzgerald, who'll have the call for the Abingdon Stakes.
Thanks, Lydia. Set for a very prompt start here. So we just come up to post time. Oriental Mystique has completed the line. Set. And they're off in this British Stallion Studs EBF Mansion Bet Abingdon Filly Stakes, and a quick start from Royal Nation to go into the lead under Holly Doyle. She's just sitting against this filly, trying to just slow her down, having gone through the first furlong with a lead of 2 lengths to Chamard in second. In third position is Wonderful Tonight, just a half length up on Franconia on the inside, the pink hat. Frankie Dettori. Shather has got 2 behind. The grey Cabaletta is one of them. And finally, Oriental Mystique. But Royal Nation's getting up a bit of a head of steam here. Is just running loose in front and has gone about 8 to 10 lengths in front. Royal Nation from Chamard in second place, but this leader looks to be running away at the moment, and about 12 lengths in front of the remainder, who are just letting Royal Nation get on with it for the time being. And in second position is Chamard, probably 15 lengths down now, with Wonderful Tonight in third, then Franconia, Shather, Cabaletta, and Oriental Mystique is the back marker. But Royal Nation has done plenty here under Holly Doyle, has gone past halfway with a lead of around 12 lengths to Chamard in second place. Wonderful Tonight is in third. Franconia is in fourth place. Shather is in fifth. Cabaletta over on the far side under Ryan Moore as they quickly close Royal Nation down. And she's about to be gobbled up at the half-mile marker. Chamard and Wonderful Tonight. Franconia, Shather. Following Shather is Oriental Mystique. And Moore's just starting to nudge away on Cabaletta, the grey, as the field now have got 2.5 furlongs left to cover. Franconia is now asked to pick up by Dettori, and with Chamard still up there, pluckily sticking on is Royal Nation on the far side. Cabaletta is running through as they now come towards the last furlong, and Franconia, Dettori just looks over his left shoulder and sees that he's clear. Franconia from Chamard, still running on is Cabaletta, and then Wonderful Tonight, but Franconia is striding away in delightful style inside the last 100 yards, and Franconia wins under Frankie Dettori, and he's down to, in second position, Cabaletta, Chamard third, then Wonderful Tonight and Oriental Mystique.
Franconia wins, the daughter of Frank Hall, trained by John Gosden, ridden by Frankie Dettori, and she's done so quite comfortably, setting up by 3 furlongs in trip. It's very much suited her, and she has very much mastered this field readily. In second, it's Cabaletta, who's got lots of stamina in her pedigree and was steadily staying on for pressure under Ryan Moore for Roger Varian. She's just squeezing through there towards the inside and sticking on nicely for second. And in third was Chamard for Richard Kingscote and Rafe Beckett. Richard said that he felt there was plenty of promise to her classic trial run, went 6th last week, and she has now got herself some black type here with third place, the one that's finishing strongly but not quite getting fourth, having been trapped out more towards the centre of the track. That's Oriental Mystique. We'll take from the start, George, and the one that immediately starts over racing is Royal Nation.
Yeah, Royal Nation's very keen under Holly Doyle, and sensibly the rest of the field, led by Richard Kingscote, have just let her get on with things, and she's not too far clear, but after a furlong and a half or so from this point, she was sort of 15 lengths clear of the field. It was interesting to watch Frankie's body language here, because they are obviously going a solid gallop. He was at pains to get Franconia settled, and once she sort of got onto the heels of the horse in front of her, she came back to him. She's just, I suppose, more inexperienced and being really, really keen, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. As you say, the field are largely ignoring Royal Nation, and she's readily reeled in. What did you make of Cabaletta? She's the grey towards the rear.
Yeah, Ryan was obviously aware that they're going a solid gallop and wasn't in a rush on her. She looks like a filly that's not very quick to do anything, and you can see why probably the really soft ground first time out suited her. She's a grinder more than a filly that's going to quicken. She travelled around okay, but she came off it. Watching Ryan Moore's body language, he never really looked comfortable up the straight. He was always sort of keeping her up to her work, if that makes sense. I just think she's going to be a filly that, with cutting the ground, probably she was going to get 10 furlongs is probably on the short side for her, I would have thought.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So the winner starts out more towards the centre of the track, but as the race develops, she's moving more towards the inside rail. The one that ends up getting slightly maroon because Shatter's not taking her anywhere is Oriental Mystique.
Yeah, I think she's run with promise. When you watch her gallop, she's a typical Kingman. She looks like she's got a head up, but she's probably still learning, and she's not really dropping down at the moment. I think there's been more to come from her. And I would have thought, as she got isolated in the middle of the track, as Shather was sort of hanging out that way slightly, she got left alone a bit, and I think you can upgrade her performance a little bit.
I tend to agree with that. Chamard has stuck on nicely. It's another solid effort from her.
Yeah, she's run consistently. It's shown that she's not a one-trick pony. Richard was happy to take a lead on her today. Obviously, under the right circumstances, it was completely the right thing to do with Royal Nation gone off so quickly. But she's actually stuck at it really well, and it's interesting with her. You know, it's job done in many ways. Bit of black type as a 3-year-old, and I suppose now Rafe will be sort of scanning the programme book to try and be a win for her with black type.
She stays really well. He might be able to go up and trip with her, perhaps. Ditto Wonderful Night, because she already ran over 10 furlongs as a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I think for me, she probably listened to David. I just think she probably wants really testing ground to be seen to best effect, so he may well look to go across the water as such to try and find a bit of soft ground, maybe Germany or France when the lockdown sort of eases.
Yeah, absolutely. So an impressive winner, though, in Franconia for John Gosden. A 5th success in the race and a 3rd for Frankie Dettori. She has added this listed success to her CV.
I thought it was a power-packed performance and seemed to relish that extra trip and ping clear from Cabaletta. I'll give you the SPs when I get there. I haven't just yet. But another winner at Newbury for John Gosden and team. They've been in good form there over the last few days, particularly with some of their 3-year-olds. And Franco.
So, to another pretty decent handicap here at Sandown. Off time's 3:15 and the trip's a mile. And we start with number 3, Lyndon B, who was really progressive for a different trainer a couple of seasons ago, culminating in a victory and a valuable handicap here. He is now with Jamie Osborne, for whom he campaigned for the Melbourne 10 in Maidan, but he's had a comeback run since then. He didn't run all that badly. I mean, with a big price. And it might well be that a return to this sort of track and a mile is what he wants. He might do with a little more respite from the handicapper, though. That's Lyndon B. As I say, he didn't run that badly on his comeback last week, and he is fit. And I'm just assuring the groom with Lyndon B that I've given him a very positive mention because her family's watching. 7 is Modern Millie, filly trained by Rafe Beckett. I'm kind of intrigued by this filly, really, because the handicap has cut her a lot of slack for 3 quite disappointing runs. I mean, really quite a lot of slack. But she was very bad the last time. Presumably there was a problem because she's been off for quite a long time since. But her run at Royal Ascot last year wasn't that bad. She wasn't in the right part of the track and she wasn't beaten that far. So she's potentially quite well handicapped if they've ironed out the problems that have kept her off the track since. She's one of 2 for the trainer and appears to be the second string. Behind is Elegant Light. Rob Hornby, who's been riding a lot of the stables winners, is on Elegant Light, number 1. Filly by Teofilo. She didn't run as a 2-year-old. She was campaigned quite extensively at 3. Her 2 victories came in France, and they came on soft ground. And she makes a stable debut this afternoon. That is Elegant Light. Last seen finishing down the field in a listed race at Saint-Cloud. I suspect this trip might end up being a minimum for her this season in the end. Number 5 is next, Murad, for Owen Burrows and Kieran Schumacher. I can imagine Owen was quite pleased with the run of his filly, unraced filly earlier on today. This gelding's interesting. He's less exposed than most, and his last run here, he finished a long way behind Solid Stone, and he was favourite for a nice race, and he just didn't offer anything at all. He's been off since, so he's been off nearly a year. But I thought he might be a contender for the lead, and there aren't that many of them. I thought he was a confirmed pace here, and if he comes back in the sort of form that saw him gain his mark, then he's quite interesting. Next is the Gill brothers for Stuart Williams and PJ McDonald. Has stall 1 again. He's unexposed. He's only having his second run on turf. Did all his racing on the all-weather last year, but progressed nicely deep into the winter after a belated start. He could have a whole load more to offer. That run behind Assimilation at Chelmsford when he was trying to concede that horse weight reads quite well, as does the previous run behind the very useful pair Another Touch and Mutafani. I'd say that he wants a pace to run at because he's a tendency to be a bit keen, and I don't think that's guaranteed here, which would be my one little worry. And behind that one is number 4, Mustarid, for Ian Williams and Sylvester de Souza. The jockey booking catches the eye, and he was really quite impressive one day at Nottingham last back end when he thrashed Dubai Acclaim. He didn't follow it up couple of months later on the all-weather. But most of the best of his recent form, although he has won on an artificial surface, is on turf. And he's a bit of a head-scratcher, to be honest. A repeat of that sort of Nottingham form on soft ground would make him interesting. But he can throw in a few clunkers. That is Musterid, who, again, is a horse who likes to come from off a strongish pace. And the last one we can have a look at is number 8, Exec Chef, who I'm sure has got a pretty big race in him one day. And for me, I think he'll run really well. He's got conditions in his favour. Just nice ground with a tiny bit of cut. He's got a recent run under his belt. It was a good recent run as well at Newmarket. Should have put him spot on for this. And he's tactically reasonably adaptable. He can sit closer than one or two of these. I can see him running a bold race for Jason Watson and Jim Boyle.
Yeah, and Exec Chef has gone well at that track before, 5-2. Solid Stone. Wonder if that gelding operation has done the trick, because he did look a well-treated horse when winning fresh last year. I'm going to keep the faith with him. 7-4. Was touch easy to back. The Gill Brothers 11-2. Mustard 13-2. Murad 12s and 20s and bigger. The remainder all 8 go. And Solid Stone, solid-ish at the top of that betting. 7-4. Nick.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, I'm intrigued by the money for Musterid at a price. Good jockey booking, clearly Sylvester. But a bit of an enigma as regards which Musterid will turn up. Anyway, back to the top of the market. Solid Stone needs our attention because he hasn't had enough of it. Martin is there, and as you said, Tom, the horse has been gelded since his last run. Not sure he's got loads in hand, though, Martin.
No, I wouldn't have said so on last season's form, Nick. I think he's just fairly treated on what he was doing. He's a horse that's disappointed a couple of times at shortish prices. He really didn't progress as anticipated after his win first time out last season. He kept eking up the ratings slowly, but he didn't manage to win again after his comeback win as a 3-year-old. But he did keep performing creditably. He's got form at the track. He's fine, I think, back at a mile. He ran well one day back at a mile at Yarmouth in August of last year. And we see so many of these Michael Stout horses come back as 4-year-olds after the gelding operations and prove to be different propositions. So you've got to respect his chance. He is still a good spot for Exec Chef, who was a very well handicapped horse on the pick of last year's form.
And I think he is about the last one to go forward. He is. So, with Exec Chef the choice, we will head to Ian to call home our next race, the 3:15.
Modern Millie at the starting stall. She's going to 7, just taking a little look before she goes in, but I think is now locked away. Exec Chef is waiting to take his position in stall number 4. It might not be that all of Modern Millie is yet locked away. She is now. Here's Exec Chef walking up, and then Elegant Light and Rob Hornby will go forward to stall number 6, and this means that the mainly light blue colours of Mustarid, who's drawn in 8, will be the last of them for this Unibet handicap over a mile. He's just a few yards away from the starting stalls now, walking in. Mustarid comes in. That's it, they're ready. They're off. They race over the mile here. They leave the starting stalls. Just slowest to get into stride was Elegant Light. Exec Chef is one of the first runners to show. On the extreme right is Mustarid, and Murad in the blue and white between those. Then Solid Stone, a blue and yellow jacket, settles back in 3rd or 4th position at the moment. Just got a bit of a bump from one of his rivals there. On the right, Modern Millie, green and white jacket and red cap. The second grey in the lineup is the Gill Brothers. And then Lyndon B, the orange jacket, 2 shades of blue on the sleeves, is in company with Elegant Light at the rear of the field as they come to the end of the back straight. And Murad leads. He's less than a length ahead. Mustarid in 2nd place. He'll be about a length and a half behind those to the Gill Brothers towards the running rail, and Exec Chef with the yellow and orange sleeves and cap. They're together in 3rd and 4th places. Just over a length behind those Modern Millie. Solid Stone is now one of the last trios in the centre. Elegant Light is on the right with the red sleeves, and Lyndon B, the orange jacket, over to the running rail as they head down past the 3 marker, and setting sail for home, Murad.
start. Kieran Schumacher's gone into a 3 or 4 length lead here. Plenty of the rivals under pressure. But Starrett in second with Exec Chef. Solid Stone has moved through into 4th position. The yellow cap towards the right running on. The Gill brothers behind those. They head them down towards the last furlong. Solid Stone is trying to get to Murad, who still has the lead against the running rail. Exec Chef is behind those. 150 yards to go. Solid Stone has come through in the blue and yellow now. A hat-trick for William Buick as Solid Stone moves on, won by a couple probably in the end. Murad in second, very tight third. Exec Chef and the Gill brothers. Mustarid behind those from Lyndon B, Elegant Light and Modern Billy.
A race run at a pedestrian pace has been grabbed by Solid Stone. William Buick and Sir Michael Stout teaming up. It's a treble for the jockey. He's done well here because Murad got a break on the field, had been allowed his own way of it up front and allowed to set his own fractions, and Solid Stone was the only horse good enough, progressive enough, improving enough to come there and overhaul him and go by him. It's a good performance from Sir Michael Stout, son of Shamadal, bred to be better than this grade, and he might well be a bit better than this. We'll have to try something a bit better next time. Swooping down the outside to give the jockey 3 on the day. It was a decent enough run from Exec Chef, but you felt he was poised to challenge if he'd been good enough, and he didn't really improve on his comeback run. I think there's much to like about the run in a share of third. I don't know whether he got 3rd or 4th from the Gill brothers, because he's a horse who looks as if he does need a pace to aim at, and he didn't really get one here. Good bit of initiative from Kieran Schumacher on Murad, who's bounced back to something like his best. He was favourite, of course, for the race in which Solid Stone finished 3rd here last year. Martin, what did you make of Solid Stone? I thought he did quite well there in a slowly run race.
I think he's done really well. You'd mark him up considerably. He got a bump early, he was a little bit lit up, he got shuffled back. It all went wrong, really, and he was just classy enough to overcome it. And he's clearly a horse that has done well for the winter off, done well for a gelding operation, and he's come back with a big career best. When you consider he had a few goes off this sort of racing last year and wasn't good enough to win off it, and yet he's come back with a pretty emphatic success, collaring one who had the run of the race in Murad, who himself has probably come back with a career best effort. I think it's all credit to Solid Stone for a good performance on the day, and they'll be looking. You'd be fine with him over a mile in the good handicaps, but even going back up to a mile and a quarter, a trip that he's won over before.
Yes, yeah, he certainly didn't look as though he was stopping, and you can just see him here reefing and pulling for his head. 2 from the outside, the yellow cap under William Buick, but yeah, he wasn't alone. There were quite a few that were keen. Look to the outside, Reb Cap in the Richard Peagham colours, Modern Millie having her stable debut. She was getting absolutely no cover at all. You could probably mark up her performance. Down toward the inside, the grey really fighting for his head, the Gill brothers. I think, Martin, the Gill brothers is potentially quite an exciting is putting it too strongly, quite a nice prospect off this mark, with this under his belt and a pace to run at.
He definitely wants a strong gallop, doesn't he? I think he can be a little bit, he can over-race a little bit, and he hasn't actually done that necessarily today, but when the pace is quickened, he's just been caught out a little bit, but he is coming back encouragingly at the finish. But look at the way that Solid Stone, from that unpromising position, he really picks up quickly down the outside of horses, and, you know, shows a lot of class, I think, to do that from a position that was quite difficult, having also pulled quite hard in the early stages. Like I say, a lot went wrong for him, but he's good enough to overcome it, progressive enough to overcome it. And this is a performance, to me, that has John Smith's Cup written all over it, Nick. I think that's a race that will really suit him. Back at a mile and a quarter at York, a fair track, a swinging gallop in a big field there. I think you could see him taking a big hand in a race like that.
Well, that, I'm sure, something like that, I'm sure, might be the plan as we pick up the SPs with Tom.
That was a taking performance from Solid Stone. You probably want to see him go on and do something again, bearing in mind he won fresh last year, but that gelding operation, wonder if it's the making of Solid Stone. 6-4 favourite. William Buick again, treble for him. Sir Michael Stout in the colours of Side Sahel. Murad second, 9-1. Exec Chef third, 2-1. 2 lengths the winning distance. Let's have a look at the time. Over the mile, 144.24. First race over the mile. It's 4.24 outside of the standard. No great shakes about the time, but a nice performance.
Building up his energy reserves to get the favourite down to the start, has managed to do so. Joyful Mission has just joined the rest of them. He really did want to just get on with it and get down there as quick as possible. But he managed to hold him together. So he didn't exert too much going down. They did give Ushin a bit of a hard time, but never got into full flow or full flight. So that's certainly a good thing. Just having a look at the betting, Rusayan, number 9, is being well supported from 16s down to 11 to 1. So make sure you're aware we had a well-backed winner of our last run in the Roger Fell stable in terrific form. He had a 1-2 earlier on the card, and Ben Curtis looking for his 3rd win on the afternoon as well. The horse is running off a mark of 87. He was pretty competitive off of 85 when David O'Mara used to train him. So he's a horse that's had a very busy career. He actually also started out with Dermot. Well, there's a couple of these in the lineup that have started there. He's a horse that won off of 77. He continued to progress up, was rated up into the 90s, and since joining Roger Fell, ran well off of 85. He won off of 82 and 86, and then was still running with credit before Ripon. He just wasn't able to come home competitively in a big handicap, and then he was just sort of 3 runs out the back. So he's dropped down to 87 today. So he's only a pound above his last winning mark. So last time when we saw him, he probably wasn't the luckiest. So he's stepping back up to the mile today, which he's been successful over when it was slightly quicker ground at Carlisle and Pontefract. But he's dropping down in grade, so that's certainly going to be another positive for him. But we saw him back in action up at Newcastle behind Darrick of John Gosden's, and that's pretty, I think, solid form in here. But he got short for room and he got into trouble about 3 furlongs out. So over the mile, straight mile, and we can enjoy it in the company of Gareth Topham.
Set. And they're off. For the Royal Ascot on Sky Sports Racing Handicap, the straight mile ahead of them here. And one of the first to show up will be King's Pavilion, the red sleeves. Asdar is also well to the fore, and away to the right, the white blaze down his face, that's Teston. Teston being tracked through by Joyful Mission, the market leader going a little freely. He's got quite warm beforehand, with Caustic Love hunting up the pace as well. They're being followed through by Daniel's Flyer and Tri-Corners more towards the near side in the black and white hoops. Alfred Richardson follows. That one's over to the far side, racing in company with Triple Distilled, and back with these is Elephant. And at the back end of the field then Byron's Choice. And as they gallop their way through the opening 3 furlongs or so, the one at the back end of the field, just in behind Elephant, is Rusayan, who's in white and red colours. So making the journey on towards the halfway stage. And up ahead, King's Pavilion down the near side of Teston. They are the leading pair. Shane Murphy already just getting at Joyful Mission, just back in behind Teston at the moment, with around about a length and a half to find. Then follows Asdar, within behind those Caustic Love. Tricorn is now under the whip. Rusayan is looking to make some headway, has now overtaken Daniel's Flyer, but Teston has kicked here, making the run inside the 2, and they're going to have to go some. It is Teston who leads up by a good 4 lengths all of a sudden over King's Pavilion. Rusayan continues to put in some fine late work. Joyful Mission over to the far side. It certainly hasn't been a Shane Murphy's day, and inside the last furlong they come. This is a 1-horse race. They look competitive on paper, but Teston has turned it into an absolute rout here and is half a dozen lengths ahead of Rusayan, racing into the final 50 yards. Teston is going to give weight and a very hefty beating to his rivals. It was Rusayan for second, Caustic Love was through for third, and Joyful Mission back in fourth.
That was a very, very impressive winner indeed. Teston has absolutely romped home here. A horse that's been a prolific winner over the Mile, but over in France and formerly trained by Pascal Barry. He's joined the Ivan Furtado stable and has found life very easy off a mark of 90. This is really impressive. Cheap pieces have been retained. He's lined up on his last 3 starts in headgear, and he's just quickened away. He's bounced off of the ground as well, really pointing his toe. And if only at this moment you could have given Tony Hamilton a pat on the shoulder and just say, Tony, not to worry, just cruise home, look pretty, because he has made a mockery off of that opening handicap mark that the assessors have given him for this country. A horse who's appreciated good to soft ground over in France and likes a little bit of ease in it as well, and he has demolished the opposition here. He was picked up at the Arcana Autumn Sale, where you get a mixture of horses through the ring, back in November. And Ivan Furtado has paid €57,000 for a horse that the English handicap, a British handicap, has given him a mark of 90 for. So that's not a bad buy in the whole grand scheme of things. A horse that has had to race in headgear, albeit, but he has put in an exciting performance here, and one that the son of Rio de la Plata at the age of 5 looks as though he's loving life with his newfound stable, Sean.
Yeah, it's quite something, isn't it, this performance? The French import was absolutely taken off here. He had quite a few goes in France, but he made his handicap debut here off 90, and he's absolutely scooted up for Ivan Furtado and for Tony Hamilton. But maybe the sectional analysis will reveal maybe he had an easy time towards the front, but even so, he's kicked away and nothing could go with him. Roussillon is second. Caustic Love just shades Joyful Mission for third place. Joyful Mission is tricky, isn't he? Haley was pointing. He was just getting a bit of warm in the preliminaries, and Sheen Murphy tried to get him to settle and found a spot of cover for him, and it looked like things were going okay for the first half of the race, but then very quickly started to nickel. Picked his stick up pretty quick, Sheen Murphy, which suggested that he felt the horse had something that he wasn't giving, and it just hasn't worked out. So they'll need a plan B for Joyful Mission. 20-1 test on Roussillon, 12-1, and Caustic Love was third at 20-1. She proved quite easy to back, despite being a winner a couple of starts ago as well. So quite a tricky cast to find that one, but Test On from the front, top weight, wins well at Donny.
Yeah, it's interesting, the penalty system for this race, as you've alluded to in your paddock piece. So he's got the £5 penalty. He's a multiple group winner. Ed's placed him extremely well to sort of go across Europe and nick group form along the way. He had a short season last year. He had a problem with his throat. He had a throat infection which really curtailed his sort of season. He's back healthy now. He's training extremely well. He looks $1 million, and I would have thought this is a good starting point, but obviously he's paying the price for his Group 2 victories in the past.
Yes, he is, and Century Dream and Zaki are also carrying penalties for their Group 3 wins, and they're the last two winners of this race when it was at Epsom. Century Dream, that wind operation, that might help it explain some below-par performances last year.
Yeah, Century Dream for me is a horse that at times has threatened to be a Group 1 performer, and he's operated well in that sort of level of races. But I kind of, when I was watching him last season, I was always thinking it's just not him, but it's really interesting he's had this wind operation, because I think if this has sort of alleviated that problem, he could be a decent price in this race. I think he represents a value for me.
Agreed. And Zaki has just become a lot more straightforward.
To complete the line. Last one just coming in. 8 runners set. And they're off over the straight mile for the Mansion Bets, beaten by a head at Diomed Stakes. Group 3, Tabarak out nicely, but there's not a blistering early gallop, and it's Century Dream, the winner 2 years ago at Epsom, that is at the head of affairs, with Tabarak getting away on terms, King of Comedy. He's been slow to get going at various times in the past, but he jumped out nicely enough under Martin Harley today. He's just following Century Dream, with Stormy Antarctic running keenly on that one's inside. Then Chartez coming more towards the stand side, Zaki. That's following Tabarak, and following Zaki is History Writer. The group over on the far side in the middle of the course, Chartez and Look Around are at the back of it, but it is Century Dream and Tabarak. Tabarak 3 from 3 at Newbury. These are the two disputants as they get to halfway in the Diomed, and it is Century Dream and James Doyle riding for Simon and Ed Crisford. To Tabarak in second place, Stormy Antarctic on the premises, the 7-year-old in third. King of Comedy, Martin Harley draws the whip through, just humouring that horse into it, head a little high. Zaki is close to that one as well. Tabarak coming under pressure. It's Century Dream that leads them towards the 2-furlong marker. King of Comedy is now being asked to put his head down. Is he in an obliging mood over on the far side? Stormy Antarctic chasing hard with Zaki, but it's Century Dream that leads the way here. To Zaki, the winner last year, in second, Stormy Antarctic, and at the moment King of Comedy isn't producing the goods. Century Dream, however, is having his lead reduced by Zaki and King of Comedy, but Century Dream has done enough to win his second Diomed Stakes, and a big group race success for Simon and Ed Crisford. Tight for second, King of Comedy and Zaki. Stormy Antarctic in fourth.
Much better, and that was much more like the Century Dream we know and knew in 2018 when he was starring several times, notably when winning this. He has now won the Diomed for a second time. He is now officially handled by Simon and his daughter, and his son Ed. Crisford, apologies for that, Ed. God knows where I was going with that. Anyway, you know, it could be, but not in this case. So that's the new joint trainers that is permitted now by the BHA, and I don't know whether that is that the first group success that's happened under that auspices. It might well be, you know. Century Dream has won anyway with James Doyle. It's a treble for him on the card, and Simon and Crisford have won. It's close in second between King of Comedy and Zaki, and in fourth it's Stormy Antarctic. Well done, George. You thought that Century Dream was potentially overpriced, and the moment he went into the front and got in such an excellent rhythm, you just felt that he wasn't going to be caught.
Yeah, we've seen James Doyle to great effect there. He's very, very good at getting horse into rhythm on the front end like this, and he's got a very willing partner. He was very happy. I suppose the race changed complexion massively when Marie's Diamond was scratched, and then there was an opportunity for someone to roll along on the front end, and they've kept it simple on Century Dream. We see a couple of these horses in behind, notably Stormy Antarctic and Zaki, fresh and over racing on their first starts back, so you'd imagine they'll be a bit better for this first time out start.
Yes, absolutely. A number of them are pulling hard. Chartez was very, very hard to settle in the early stages. Meanwhile, Century Dream has just moved so fluently. Still at this point, Tabarak as well is up there, but you can see that Ryan Moore has switched over to track the likes of Stormy Antarctic and Century Dream, because that's where he feels the race is going to develop.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do by Ryan, and to follow Century Dream, who's gone I don't think he's got an easy time of it on the front end by any means, but he's just gone an even gallop and kept building, and James has been seen to good effect on him. He's a really likeable type, Century Dream, when you get him on a good day, and hopefully this wind up will give him a bit of confidence and he can build on this going forward.
Yeah, as you say, James has changed the face of this race with the tactics. Marie's Diamond not being there has enabled him to dominate, and he's got a horse that has bounced back to the right level of form, and he's carried a Group 3 penalty to this success as well. He's done that well. What did you make of Zaki then, and also of King of Comedy? If we focus on King of Comedy first on the right hand side there.
King of Comedy looked very awkward under pressure. Martin Harley was at pains to get him to stretch out. He sort of stayed on well enough to finish second, but he just didn't look like he was giving Martin everything under pressure. You can see him there with his head sort of cocked to the side slightly and not really dropping down. He just looks awkward, and he's a very talented individual, but to catch him right is difficult.
They're going to be loath to geld him or anything extreme like that, though, aren't they? He's second in St James's Palace and fourth in International.
I suppose it's a hard one, isn't it, what you're trying to achieve? I mean, whether you think he's got a value at stud, but I always feel that to be extremely valuable at stud, he needs to probably win a Group 1 at the moment. The way he's conducting himself, he's probably not going to be able to do that.
No. And Zaki, though, that was quite a creditable return.
Yeah, really good first effort for the year. Travelled very strongly, as he has a sort of can do, and he's only followed up late on as a really good run under his penalty. And I think I would have thought he'll come on a plenty for this, and it'd be worth following next time wherever Michael decides to run him.
And Stormy, final word for Stormy?
Really good effort with his Group 2 penalty. Travelled with loads of enthusiasm with his first start back for a while, and he could build on this, and it'll be just interesting to see where Ed placed him, because he's placed him with such great effect through the few years of him having him, and I would have thought it may well be to try and, obviously the aim is always to try and win another Group 2 and ideally a Group 1, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it is, but he certainly started the season well, and despite the penalties, all the right horses in the frame. The winner, however, Century Dream.
And you can see the distance there pretty comfortably. A nice ride from James Doyle, giving weight away to all but 5:10 is a Poster Child, Rosa Albertine, Tashi or Thunder Kiss. 5:45 Face Off and Teddy Boy Don't Go. 6:15 there's no Melburnian War Diary, Guinevere. 6:45 no Psychedelic Funk. 7:15 no Brook on Fifth or Miss Myers. All Redenza. 7:45 Crotchet, Mia, Maria and Precepts Don't Go. Got some jockey changes for you as well. In the 4 o'clock, 19 Joseph Sheridan on Severus Alexander claiming 7, and Robert Colgan on Formal Order. They're 19 and 20 respectively. Same numbers for the 6:15. Chris Hayes on She Is Diesel and Andrew Slattery claiming 5 on the Mouse Doctor. Sandown up next. Back to the Isha track we go for the 10 furlong maiden, Unibet June Casino Free Festival EBF Maiden Stakes. Byzantine Empire is 5-2. Mambo Nights is 11-4. Wirraway 11-2. Postleo is 11-2. 6 is for Untold Story. 11's bigger. The remainder 11 go here. Byzantine Empire heads the betting 5-2.
Interested, Martin Dixon, as to what you thought of the race at Newcastle that Byzantine Empire was third in. It was resumption day, and you just got a feeling that everything that was running in those 3-year-old maidens or 3-year-old nut maidens was pretty useful, and it had the look of a decent contest.
I think it was a good race. Yeah, I was impressed with the winner, Valyrian Steel. I thought he was very good that day. Byzantine Empire, I didn't think any necessarily pattern performers in the making, but potentially with a Pastilia, Wirraway and Untold Story, maybe even Father of Jazz, given your positive comments on him, having seen him in the paddock, Nick, that we could have something in there. As a betting medium, it makes very little appeal whatsoever. Other people will know a hell of a lot more than I do in that regard about these unraced ones. But looking forward to it. It should be a good race, and Sandown always provides these young horses with a really good test.
It does. And with that, and with 3 back, we can head up to Barty to call them home.
So the blindfold on Wirraway. Taking a bit of time to go forward into the stalls. The diamond jacket, purple and yellow of Mr. Merlin, the longest priced in the lineup, waiting to go to 4, and Father of Jazz, first run for him, yellow and black jacket and white cap. He'll be going to Father of Jazz to 8. Wirraway, blindfolded on, still proving difficult to get forward into the starting gates. And still just being a bit stubborn about things, really. First run for him today. 2 waiting patiently behind him to go forward. And he started to back away again, Wirraway. And William Buell. So the diamond colours of Mr. Merlin to stall number 4. Moves up. And Father of Jazz to stall number 8. He's just side on at the moment. Now levelled up and walks forward. So Wirraway, the only one out of line. And they're off. They race away over a mile and a quarter here, field without number 3, Wirraway, who wouldn't enter the starting stalls. And as they get away, the
first to show is Mambo Knights. Has the advantage and goes on to Byzantine Empire, who runs in second place in the dark blue and white jacket. They've got a couple of lengths break early on to Father of Jazz. It's a yellow jacket and white cap who's up round the outside of Mr. Merlin. Diamond jacket as they've completed 2 furlongs of purple and yellow. Behind those is Real Poet in blue and yellow. Sits up on the outside of Untold Story. A blue jacket and white cap has made progress from a little bit of a slow start. There'll be about 2 lengths behind those to Diabolo in the white and red colours, who races next in the field up on the outside of Postilio as they run down towards the end of the back straight. Grand Canal is next in the green, white and red colours and races in company with Wishing Gate, who's in green and yellow at the rear of the field. So they run round the bottom turn then and heading down towards the halfway stage with Mambo Knights continuing to have the advantage. Only a slender one though to Byzantine Empire. The 2 market leaders in front here. There'll be about a neck between them. Then comes Mr. Merlin in company with Father of Jazz. They're racing together in 3rd and 4th positions. They've levelled up now for home and begin the run down to the final 3 furlongs. Behind those, Untold Story with Real Poet. In fact, a length and a half, maybe 2 ahead of that. Diabolo in the red and white colours is next as they head then down with 2 furlongs to go. Yellow jacket on the left against the running rail is Mambo Lights. Byzantine Empire in dark blue and white, but Father of Jazz running a big race here. The yellow jacket and white cap on the outside has moved through into second place to give chase to Mambo Knights. So they're heading inside the last furlong. Mambo Knights, it is in front, leads 2 lengths ahead of Father of Jazz in second position, and running up towards the line, Mambo Knights and Pat Dobbs have made most of it to win here. Father of Jazz in second place. Looks like Untold Stories just grabbed 3rd position from Byzantine Empire late on, and they're clear of the remainder.
Another winner for Richard Hannon on the day. Pat Dobbs winning rider. Mambo Knights wins pretty comfortably 11-4 at Sandown from Father of Jazz and Untold Story. Over at the Curragh, 4 o'clock is upon us. We're over 2 miles. Presto and Jeremy are 4-1 joint favourites. 9-2 run for Mary. Zenian is 13-2. It's 10s and bigger. The remainder, Gary can't split them at the top.
Thanks indeed, Tom. Yes, Presto, horse very much to be interested in for this opening contest, and it's my pleasure to welcome on board for the rest of the afternoon stroke evening here at the Curragh, Fran Berry. Fran, it's been a while since we last teamed up, albeit we're doing it from afar today, but how are you and how much are you looking forward to this cracking 8-race card?
Gary, it's a fantastic card. You know, it's a shame, I suppose, with the drying ground that there is a number of non-runners, particularly in the group races later on the card. But sure to be, you know, the Guineas, Albania, you know, what she's doing a Group 1 winner in the field. The stable couldn't be going better, but she does have tough opposition and potential improvers to take her on. And you know, the last race, Magic One, dropping back to a mile is most interesting as well.
Yeah, Fran hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of absentees due to the ground conditions here at the Curragh. They did water after racing overnight, but plenty of trainers still clearly feel that it's on the quick side for their intended runners. 4 of them out of this first race due to the ground. Actually, Sneaky Getaway, who would have been one of the market leaders. Dalton Highway, another one with a good form chance. Also, Buckman Tavern and Tritonics, and 2 reserves in Joe Sheridan riding Severus Alexander for Gavin Cromwell and Robbie Colgan on formal order. Still an interesting race, I think, Fran, and I wasn't at all surprised to see the support arrive for Presto. This is a horse who, in a limited time on the track last season, created a pretty good impression. I wouldn't judge him too harshly for his last run, and, well, it would be good for Shane Foley to kick off, I suppose, where he left off by winning the final race yesterday on what's potentially another big day. Is this a horse that you like yourself?
Yeah, I do, Gary. I actually do really like him. You can put a line shot run in Dundalk. Obviously, he dropped back to
Carlos Felix. That one now to be dropped in for this, the download the free at the races at handicap. And early on, the pace down the near side with Ventura Bounty, and on the side, Tad Ridge. They are the leading pair. They're racing quite wide apart, with up in between them Zymar. Then comes the purple sleeves of Macho Boy. Blue and white to the far side is Diari. The light blue colours, darker blue cap of Nugget. And then the Royal Runner Fruition, who's over towards the stand side in the red sleeves. At the back end of the field race both Jumeirah Bay and the slow-to-go Carlos Felix as the field work their way on down to the final 5 furlongs. They're being towed along by Ventura Bounty in the hands of Ben Curtis, who's seeking his 3rd winner of the afternoon. Leads up by half a length over Zymar, a close second. Then the black and yellow jacket of Tad Reege, who is away to the right. They're being tracked through at this point by Nugget, who's moving strongly, as is Fruition. Away to the extreme right is Diari, and that one racing in company with Macho Boy, and still towards the rear of the field are both Jumeirah Bay and are now shaken up at Carlos Felix. Racing on down towards the final 2 and a bit furlongs, and Tad Reege on the far side now pokes her head in front from Ventura Bounty, but this side Jumeirah Bay is making some eye-catching progress from the back end of the field as Tad Reege there just wandered off a true line and didn't really do Zymar many favours. Also joining in now is Nugget over to the far side in the light blue. It's Nugget and Jumeirah Bay. They are the leading pair racing deep inside the final furlong. They're now 3 lengths away from everything else, and it's Nugget who's going home slightly the stronger, just edging across a little bit towards the near side, but is well on top in the hands of Ross Orion. And Nugget wins, beating into 2nd position Jumeirah Bay. It was tied for the minors in behind Fruition, Carlos Felix, and over to the far side at Tad Reege.
Nugget has nudged out the opposition in good fashion here for Richard Hannon, who is having a really good start to the new season. Ross Orion on board, an 8-1 winner in the Highclere Thoroughbred Racing Silk. So many congratulations to the syndicate. The horse that bumped into Desert Peace last time out at Kempton when last seen has shown plenty of promise, but up to the mile today. Started off life at 6, went up to 7, and has really appreciated every yard of this today. Just sat behind the leaders there. You'll see covered up in behind. Look at the back of the picture though, held up, given a very patient ride, was the eventual 3rd, Carlos Felix. He makes up a lot of ground where it's been, a lot of horses have been ridden quite prominently, have fared quite well at the business end today. Some of them have come off the pace. It got tight in behind. Fruition just rolling around a little bit. That horse plugged on for 3rd place. Jumeirah Bay has really put in an improved effort as well under young David Egan here. This horse building from what we saw last season for 2nd place. These two coming clear of the rest of them. But there's the ground that is made up by Carlos Felix in the closing stages. But Nugget really putting in a nice performance. Roger Varian's horses continue in really good form at the moment, and that horse appreciating, I think, ground with a little bit of ease in it. Ran well at Yarmouth on heavy ground and not too bad last time at Nottingham, but that was a good return to action for the son of Sayuni as well. So handicap debut of 78. These two in a different league there, Sean.
Yes, they were, and well clear of more fancied runners, including the gambled on Carlos Felix, could have managed only 4th in the end. But Nugget storms away in those Highclere colours. Another winner for Richard Hannon. Ross Orion on board, emphatic winner too. Jumeirah Bay 18-1 in 2nd, and Fruition back in 3rd, 100-30. It's a 3-year-old handicap, so you know there isn't a lot to go on. Horses can have improved significantly, can't they, between their last run and their reappearance? That certainly seems to be
real head bobber between Mutadafik and Jeremy. First impressions were that Mutadafik might have got there, but I tell you what, looking at that, I'm going to reserve judgment here, because Jeremy has given himself a real chance and he battled so gamely over on the far side. And I don't know about you, Fran, the more you look at it, maybe you might be leaning more towards Jeremy, but very, very tight. Great finish, wasn't it?
Great finish, Gary, and you know, if Jeremy has got beaten, it's you know, he doesn't deserve to be caught, because he made the running. He did get headed with 10 furlongs to run, but he was very game to repel off most challengers, and it'd be a shame if he got caught late on, because he did, you know, battle strongly and really enjoyed the return to the turf. If he has won, Mutadafik has made use of being dropping down the weights. When he ran in the UK, he hadn't won for a number of years, 2 years, sorry, but he did win off 81, and it was up to 86 one time, and only had one run to flat for Gavin Cromwell, and as we know, he won a chased it before lockdown at Clonmel, and it was a good performance to get him back in the flat today if he did win.
Yeah, maybe not much more than a stride after the line. I think Mutadafik was probably almost a head up, but as they hit it, Jeremy really has given himself a chance. Here we go. It is Mudadafik. Mudadafik has just snatched it from Jeremy. As Fran said, a real tough beat for Noel Meade's horse, who gave it such a good go under Colin Keane, and big run also from Gordon Elliott's horse on the outside. It was one of the, I suppose, unknown quantities. Graceland back from a lengthy absence today. 3 stables, Fran, as so often happens in a race like this, that are more associated with the jumping game, though Noel Meade's having more and more flat runners these days. What did you make of Presto's performance? He came there looking as though he was going to go on and win, I thought. And
the horse he had picked to go on and win the race, considering the way he should have finished out. His effort just petered out. Shane Foley seemed the pains just to nurse him without and into the lead without going from too early. So maybe he had that at the back of his head. He's run perfectly fine in his first handicap over this distance, and you'd have to say, Gary, the pace of the race was key, wasn't it? Jeremy jumped out. You said it, as you said before the race, there was a big rush to get away from the tape start, but the pace was quite sedate. Jeremy controlled under Colin Keane, and Wayne Lauren on the eventual winner sat second to him, and he can probably upgrade the run of Graceland from where he came from.
Fantastic finish, and for the second day running, Tom, Wayne Lauren has won the Open and rode that very nice 2-year-old of Aidan O'Brien's yesterday.
Trevor 13-2. Southern Dancer 7-1, going the other way, and as are the rest, reacting to a bit of support towards the top of that betting. And 11
Monopolis to Stansted.
Okay.
So it's the horses that are yet to see the race course that are attracting the most support, Lydia.
Yeah, the horses with experience don't set that higher standard, do they? But let's get George's take on the race. George?
Yeah, I agree. I think we were sort of looking at the unraced individuals. There's some very attractively bred horses. Osgood of David Ellsworth, son of Australia, well-bred individual, was a relatively cheap yearling, but you'd imagine will be the type to improve with time. So I'd be keeping an eye on him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think of the favourites breeding?
Very well bred. A full brother to Kitten's Cat and Streak of a Kitten. Sort of North American breeding as such, and just looks a nice type going forward, but it's interesting, he's been well supported in the market.
There seems to be a feeling in the market that Southern Dance is going to produce significantly better form than he did last season.
Yeah, wasn't too bad around at Sandown, even though beaten a long way, and you'd imagine we'll build on that.
Absolutely. Not many more to go forward then, so time to join David Fitzgerald for our penultimate contest.
Thanks, Lydia. Just waiting on Marion's Boy and also Nasrawi to go in. Southern Dancer has gone into stall 2. Nasrawi to walk forward into 4, and still Marion's Boy. It's almost into stall 8. Is now, so just the finishing touches on Nasrawi. And they're all set, all 10 of them. And they're off over a mile. Division 2 of the It's Not Rocket Science with Mansion Bet Novice Stakes. Nasrawi was not the best away by any means. A little bit slow to get into stride. Intercessor leads to Southern Dancer. Showing a little bit of speed is Marion's Boy. The white and black breast girth on the left. Sea Dance, the green and red, is just in behind the pace. Tremor, the previous winner of the Golden Horn Maiden, is up there. The blue colours just racing alongside Southern Dancer with Silver Cliffs in behind. Just on the right, on the outside of the group, no real cover for Nasrawi after not having the best of starts. The stars on the jacket, Russian Virtue. The red star on the white cap is just following the leaders, with Osgood held up towards the back. They're not going particularly hard, and they're quite closely bunched, with Kosa Auger being the back marker. They're just getting towards halfway now, and it is Intercessor that leads under Kieran Fallon to Marion's Boy in second, Tremor poised in third place. Southern Dancers just getting stoked along now. Second from the right, looking to get closer, is the favourite Nasrawi, and Kosa Auger and James Doyle, looking for 4 winners on the day, is covering that move and coming into it quite nicely. Now the favourite is shaken up, Nasrawi. Kosa Auger likewise. Tremor in there with a chance. Intercessor, Marion's Boy, Silver Cliffs is just in behind, and then Russian Virtue and Southern Dancer. Osgood needs to find more. This is very much up for grabs here as they run just towards the last furlong. Intercessor coming again. Tremor, Marion's Boy, with Russian Virtue under Ryan Moore getting into it. Nasrawi can't quite get there. Russian Virtue still closing on Marion's Boy. Intercessor and Tremor still on the far side. In it is Nasrawi. Intercessor's just in front. Intercessor has won in a bunch finish. Anyone's guess for the placings. Nasrawi, Tremor, Marion's Boy and Russian Virtue involved.
Wow, well there's a turn up for the books. The photo finish has been officially called by the judge, but John Gallagher, the trainer, who I could hear propelling this horse home throughout the final 2 furlongs. I think it is the power of his voice that has got him home in front. I was a little bit worried that he might have a bit too much speed or not enough stamina for this particular task, but in the end, in a blanket finish, it looks as though he has just about got his head in front. On the right-hand side, Koza Orga has really shown up nicely before fading out of things. Nazwari didn't have the best of starts. He's tried to get in it and he's battling for the frame, but not quite getting there. Tremor's there with his £7 penalty. He emerges as the best horse in the race, and he's raced with his head slightly on one side. Also towards the fore is Marion's Boy, and on the near side rallying was Russian Virtue. My goodness, George, that was something of a blanket finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, normally when they come to the final furlong, you have a relatively good idea what's going to win, but there was one you couldn't pick between the 5 watching it live, and it was a really good finish. And it's sort of, I think, I'm pretty sure Intercessor's won, and obviously made a massive step up on what we saw of his first start last year. Has been gelded in the interim, and has taken a massive step forward.
Really has, hasn't he? It looks as though Kieran Fallon might have been able to control things a little bit, and maybe some horses a bit too green and not doing as expected.
Yeah, a lot of horses in behind were sort of green, running in snatches. Probably look at, as we see the favourite on the wing there, towards the far side. Jim Crowley was at pains to get cover. It was sort of always racing away from them, and sort of lack of experience has played against that horse for sure.
Absolutely. He was a bit slowly into stride and got crowded as well by Silver Cliffs coming across him, so it wasn't the most ideal start to the day for him. On the right-hand side, I think there's definite promise from Kosa Orga, bearing in mind his pedigree.
No, definitely. I think taken a big step forward from what we've seen in 2 starts to date. And I would have thought he had a breathing operation after his first start and had a break, and he's really built on what we saw of him last time at Yarmouth.
And Tremor's run really well. He said they'd just been called the 3rd placed horse. Tremor with the £7 penalty. That is a good effort, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's a hard race to sort of get a gauge of the standard of horses we're dealing with, but he's run extremely well under a penalty, so he's one to keep an eye on in handicaps next time. But it'll be, I'd imagine it'll be a hard race for the handicapper to get a gauge of, really. Yeah,
I agree with that. David Minicio will be pleased with a debut from Russian Virtue, though. There is the print, just to show you who's come where, and so the winner is Intercessor, the second is Nazwari on the far side, and the third is Tremor. What did you make of Russian Virtue? There's plenty of encouragement in the way that he finished the race off.
Yeah, he stayed on strongly. I felt under pressure, Ryan, and Ryan was, as always, on a horse having his first start, doesn't want to chuck the kitchen sink at him too soon. And ended up giving him a few backhanders, and he really concentrated and knuckled down to it well. And I'd imagine he's probably the race horse to take out of it, because he's going to improve massively for the start, because he just looked like he was struggling to apply himself for a long period of time.
And Roger Till will be pleased that Marion's Boy has shown something, the half feather to tip to win.
Yeah, that was a step up from what we've seen of him in 2 starts last year. And Roger Till seems to have his team of horses in really good form.
He does. As you say, George, really hard to get a handle on the form, really, isn't it? Just to know what level of form that we're talking about. Tremor is the only one that brought anything really substantial to the table. And he's quite a medium-sized. He's dwarfed, isn't he, by the horses running around him?
Yeah, I think a lot of these horses, looking at them physically, they are going to improve with time, you'd imagine, and they're more slow burners and sort of really sort of up-to-date prospects at the moment, so yeah. I think they're horses to build on in the future.
Yeah, I tend to agree there, absolutely. 200 to 1, Intercessor is returned. Wallop. Kieran Fallon on board for trainer John Gallagher.
Yeah, fairly different price to the Division 1 of that. where Lord Campari came out on top. But 200-1, Intercessor. Blimey, Kieran Fallon, John Gallagher, one into the Lamb partnership. Not surprised if there was some shouting near you if there was any money down. Naz Rawi, second even money favourite, and Trevor third. 2 Seabourn and Leon Cavallo 4-1. Nelson River 7-1. Fibonacci 15-2. 14's and bigger the rest. All 12 go for the 420. But let's say hello to Stuart.
8 dark blue with pink detail. Dark blue with pink detail. Raw the colour change in stall 11. They're all in. Here's Ian.
Race over 1 3/4 here. Kwame's with the red headgears, just the last of them to get away. Nabhan and the colour change, the hoop jacket, dark blue and gold of Roar towards the rear of the field as Barari goes past the winning post first time in front, although Fibonacci in the blue and yellow is coming alongside. Nuit Saint-Georges will be about 2 lengths behind those, mainly red jacket showing in third place, and behind this is Seabourn. Races in company with Leon Cavallo as they turn right-handed and run away to the far side. That quintet going off fairly nippily. Red Royalist heads the remainder. They're very well strung out, though. Plenty of these content to look at the leading quintet getting on with it. Prebani is next, a blue jacket and red sleeves as they move to the mile and a quarter start, and then Cogital is in company with Nelson River in the purple colours. There'll be Nabhan 1.5 lengths behind this. Hoop jacket another 1.5 lengths away to Roar, and as they begin the run down the far side, Carmes was last out of the starting stalls, is still the back marker and would be at least 15 lengths behind Barari, who's heading down towards the last mile with the lead of about 1/2 length. Fibonacci, blue and yellow colours, is running in second position. Nuit Saint-Georges is close up behind those and showing in third. Leon Cavallo is next, and then Seabourn in the purple jacket holding 5th place. Prebani is about 1.5 lengths behind this and running in 6th position up on the outside of the light blue and brown of Red Royalist as they're well past the halfway stage. Nelson River is in company with this as they run down towards the end of the back straight, and Cogital in the red and pink against the running well with Roar on the outside of this. These then are followed through by the blinkered head of Nabhan and also blinkered red blinkers of Kwame's at the rear. Out of the back straight, Barari and Joey Haynes continue to lead. Fibonacci in blue and yellow colours for William Buick showing in second place. Right on their tails is Nuit Saint-Georges. Leon Cavallo, Jason Watson, mainly white colours, shows the cheek pieces on, running in fourth, just encouraged along a little bit. Seabourn is next. Prebani is being ridden along on the outside of Red Royalist, and Nelson Rivers on the extreme right. Roar is in behind those from Cogital, and then comes Kwame struggling at the back of the field. Nabhan is just ahead of that. Here's Leon Cavallo then, coming through with Fibonacci, the yellow cap. Barari battling on well in white and orange colours. Big gap for Nuit Saint-Georges against the running rail. Seabourn and Red Royalist in the light blues getting a roll on down the centre, but Nuit Saint-Georges had a big gap against the running rail, took full use of it. Leon Cavallo with the cheek pieces and the light blue of Red Royalist on the outside. From the back, Roar is staying on very strongly. Leon Cavallo all out in front, trying to fend off challengers. Nuit Saint-Georges in the red, fighting back. Again, the judge will have to split them. Red Royalist was behind those in third position. Roar is next, and then Barari.
A well-run race and a warm race of its type, and it's very tight between Nuit Saint-Georges, Sean Levy for the treble, and Leon Cavallo joining him on the line. It opened up like the Red Sea down the inside for Nuit Saint-Georges. This side, Leon Cavallo, that is desperately, desperately close. If Nuit Saint-Georges is held on the far side, it is by the nosiest of noses. Back in third place was Red Royalist. Good run for the Stuart Edmonds trained son of Royal Applause. I think he wants to be campaigned on the flat, this horse, and on a reasonably sound surface as well. And there was a little break to the fourth, who was roaring home from the rear. They set off hard. And Nuit Saint-Georges has done it. He has held on by the narrowest of margins from Leon Cavallo. Leon Cavallo, that will have put him bang on for a tilt at some of those big valuable summer jumps prizes, perhaps at market race and over hurdles. Mind you, he's well worth having another crack on the flat off this sort of mark. You just fancy he was just muscled out of it on the rail
by a horse with a rail to assist, and quite a smart ride from Sean Levy. He was content to bide his time. He's set up nicely for Nuit Saint-Georges because he's not a horse who likes to be too far away from the pace, but he can be a bit headstrong as he was in the Cesarewitch. And the two front runners, Berari being the one who really wanted to get on with it, and Leon Cavallo, set off hard, and that allowed him to get a lovely toe, a lovely draft stalking trip into the race. That's Raw, the colour change, the outside, finishing fast. He's a horse to remain interested in, I think, provided the pace is honest.
What a battle that was. George Baker said that was a horse race at the line. It really was. You'd love to see a horse battle back like that. Far side, and the winner, Nuit Saint-Georges, loves a battle. Well done to Sean Levy, Devon Memoisio. Had a good day. 5-2 favourites, the winners. Leon Cavallo was...
That one, the back marker. They're now inside the final mile and continuing this left-handed run all the way back towards the home straight. Once they straighten up, they'll have just under 5 furlongs of their journey remaining. So they'll be at halfway very soon. Zagallo under David Egan, dictating modest fractions here, controlling the race. David's looking for his second winner on the card. Indigo Lake is racing in second place for trainer John Gosden, who's also seeking winner number 2 here today. Favourite Moon is in the slipstream of Zagallo, without a little bit wider grain of sense, just being nudged along by Harry Bentley, and frankly, Mr. Shankly and Thomas Greatrex last of all. So they're now making this run, left-handed into the home straight. 5 furlongs left to travel in the finale. Another 9 races here at Doncaster tomorrow. Zagallo in front on straightening by 3 parts of a length over Indigo Lake, the pink cap who's now trying to throw down a challenge. They're a few lengths away now from the other 3. Favourite Moon, with along that one's inside, frankly, Mr. Shankly, and Grain of Sense is now struggling at last of the 5. And up ahead here, these two just getting away a little bit. Zagallo to the rails, now pounced upon by Indigo Lake, who rather comfortably moves to the front. 2 furlongs left to go. Favourite Moon has got some running to do. That one back in third. Has got 4 lengths to find on Indigo Lake as they make the run towards the final furlong and a half. Indigo Lake, Favourite Moon is closing up a little bit now. Switches over to the inside, or was going to, but Indigo Lake there has just edged across towards the far running rails, so Favourite Moon has had to change course. Zagallo weakening is back in third. Indigo Lake is showing out in front by a length and a half and is holding Favourite Moon at bay. Indigo Lake, a double on the day here for John Gosden. Kieran O'Neill did the steering. Indigo Lake off the mark, beating Favourite Moon Zagallo, and they were clear of frankly Mr. Shankly and Grain of Sense.
Only a small field, but quite a dramatic finish there. But Indigo Lake comes home in front to make it a double on the card for trainer John Gosden at 8-1. Kieran O'Neill here for his last ride and comes home in front of Favourite Moon. Not quite as straightforward as that. We'll have a look back at her head-on for you very shortly. Zagallo's run well back in third place, the horse that was out there making the running under David.
Jessica Harrington's, you can see why there's money for them. She's, you know, by speedily bred, Star Spangled Banner. The way her horses are running in general, the 2-year-olds are obviously on song. They had a winner last Monday in Nays, and it's quite interesting. And I suppose Fozzie Stack's one, number 3, Blue Copacabana, is it? The Holy Roman Emperor filly. She could be interesting. The stable had a winner, Navan, or sprint distances on Wednesday with a 3-year-old, and you know, just could be know its job, tends to know its job for that stable, and could be interesting. And the Joseph O'Brien train runner Royal Blend is quite interesting on pedigree as well.
Thanks, Fran. Yes, the Fuzzy Stack one, Blue Cabochon, that attracted support in the early betting moves for this one, from I think around about 6 or 7 to 1 into 4 to 1, and now on track here at 9 to 2. But Dicky Doodah looks like going off favourite into 11 to 4. Finest has been very easy, as I say, at 3 to 1. But some of those Ballydoyle juveniles that have won so far, in fairness, were relatively weak in the market. The Air Force Blue Colt that won at Navan the other day blitzed them. I think he went off 5 to 1 or something like that in the end. Time will tell whether Finest is able to strike here at the first time of asking. And the other big mover in the early moves for this was Amazed by Grace for Johnny Murtagh, from about 20s into 10s, with Ben Cohen taking the ride on that one. Johnny also represented by Bella Boom. So look, we're dealing with unknown quantities here. Last one goes forward. Let's see what we learn. In the company of Jerry Hannon for the Tally-Ho stud Irish EBF Fillies Mate.
They're off. In the Tally-Ho stud Irish EBF Fillies Maiden, won last year by Albina, the Guineas favourite. Losing ground at the start, Bella Boom and Royal Blend. Up front, Dicky Doodah on the near side of Finest. These two are followed by Amazed by Grace on the left, racing on in these early stages. Blue Cabochon as they race on now to the halfway stage. Dicky Doodah, Tassel Flowers moved up into second, followed by Amazed by Grace and Finest. Over on the far side is Blue Cabochon, and they're followed by Gramata, and then comes Inner Beauty, followed by Social Dancer, Bella Boom, and Royal Blend, the back marker. 4.5 to go, and coming there over on the far side is Blue Cabochon to press. Dicky Doodah, the white jacket, staying on as Inner Beauty, then Finest, Amazed by Grace, and Gramata up the rail. It's Dicky Doodah in the lead inside the final 100 yards. It's Dicky Doodah. It's going to be an early boost for Shane Foley and Jessica Haddington. Was that an omen? Gramata second, and then Inner Beauty, Blue Cabochon, and Finest.
So it is indeed a debut win for Dicky Doodah on a potentially big day for Jessica Harrington and Shane Foley, and this filly clearly knew her job, well into stride, quickly dictating from the front. Did run a bit green late on, but returns the 5-2 market leader after a relatively decisive success. As we wind it back to the start, the one who completely missed it was Bella Boom, Johnny Murtagh's filly, and slow into stride was Royal Blend. But Fran, plenty to like about this from the winner, and a good deal of promise from a couple of the others that we'll talk about in just a second. Blue Cabochon, who runs very green late on, and also Gramata.
Yes, Gary, a very professional performance by the winner. She knew her job, broke smartly, and was always in control for Shane Foley. He was always comfortable. As you can see, it appears like her ears are half pricked. She's enjoying things in front. She's running, it's quite daunting to run up the middle of the Curragh first time out, but she's running straight and true. And I think Shane is just content to bide his time, and he's aware that being first time out, he doesn't want to go too soon and expose her too early. And as a consequence, it's allowed a number of horses to get into the race with a chance. Ken Collins' Inner Beauty looked at one stage like it might go up and challenge the eventual winner, and kept going well to be third. And I think Dennis Hogan will be delighted with Gramata. I think it'll be his first run of it in the Lady O'Reilly colours, and that ran a very nice race. Daughter Twilight Sun broke well out of gates and got back a little bit early on and finished off to good effect.
Really did, yes. Excellent debut as well from Ken Condon's Inner Beauty, as Fran said. Difficult to see what happened, Fran, with Blue Cabochon. She looked at one stage as though she was going to pose the main threat to the eventual winner. Just seemed to shy away to her left, and she lost whatever momentum she had at that stage. Ended up finishing fourth, but I definitely rate her a bit better than the bare form. I don't know what you reckon.
Yeah, I'd be with you on that, Gary. Between the 2 and the 1 for a marker, it looked to be between the eventual winner and Blue Cabochon. They both appeared to be travelling the best, and perhaps Blue Cabochon even slightly more so. But as you said, he just appeared to falter when Chris Hayes let her down to go. And we'll see as the head-on rolls on here. She's running straight enough at the moment, and then she just begins to roll in, and then she ducks in once she gets a bit of daylight. When the horse on her inside tosses flower begins to drop away, and when you do that, you lose your momentum. And she didn't recover and showed a tendency to lug into her left for the remainder of the race. She's green, she's entitled to prove. She looked like a strong traveller who maybe hasn't been off the bridle too much before.
And Blue Cap is 11-2. 8-1 for Fancy Footings, and 11-1 and bigger the remainder. It's all really moving around a great deal. All 12 go here for this handicap over the straight mile. There going down is Kodiak Harbour. William Carson for Robin Brisbane. Second start for the yard. Going down pretty comfortably. Should we start at the top of the betting? Stuart Williams sending out Rhythmic Intent, looking for another course and distance success. The yard have started. They started the first week slowly enough, but they had a winner earlier on this week, and I think they've picked up a little of late.
Yeah, the thing with Rhythmic Intent is whether the drop back to 8 furlongs is going to suit. He's done the majority of his racing last season over further sort of 12 furlongs. But with connections as they are, Stuart Williams is a very shrewd trainer. You have to sort of take it as a positive that he thinks he's able to operate over this sort of trip, and he's been well supported in the market.
There is Manton Grange going down. George Baker and Pat Crossgrave combining. There's cheap pieces on board. Going down pretty comfortably as we I can see how far away they are from that straight mile. I had a few races over the straight mile today, including that Diomed Stakes won by Century Dream a little bit earlier on. That was impressive. So, last of the lot at Newbury. Let's join Lydia.
Handicap to finish things off, and the horse that's in shot, Rhythmic Intent. You heard George talking about the respect that we all hold, really, for trainer Stuart Williams, but it's a bit of a head-scratcher, isn't it, George? Because that excellent form, best...
So I think it's just Love Dreams that we are waiting for. Blindfolded and now being led towards stall number 11. Almost there, handler. Well, I say almost there, but just needing a final heave. And they're off. Slightly awkward start, Kodiak Harbour. It's the Mansion Bets Royal Ascot Special handicap. Again over the straight mile. Gin Palace well to the fore with Loch Ness Monster, and on the left, Love Dreams, the dark green jacket. That is being followed by Enigmatic. Just tucking in behind the leaders, Snow Ocean, the orange. That one's running keen as he did to post. A Rhythmic Intent, the blue sleeves towards the right, in company with Fancy Footings, followed by Manton Grange and Lawmaking Kodiak Harbour. The back two, Blue Cup and Border Force, is just about the back marker at this stage. So at the head of affairs, it is Gin Palace and Charlie Bishop, Megan Nichols on Love Dreams, with Loch Ness Monster, Tom Marquand close up as well, in company with Snow Ocean. Fancy Footings, Rhythmic Intent next with Kodiak Harbour and Enigmatic. Then Lawmaking in front of Manton Grange, Blue Cup travelling into the race okay, but only with Border Force behind. So the field are heading towards their last 3 furlongs here. Gin Palace still with the advantage. Snow Ocean, Kodiak Harbour looking to get a bit closer. Rhythmic Intent shaken up. Under the whip is Loch Ness Monster. Fancy Footings needs to find some more. Blue Cup picking off 1 or 2. Still just about in there fighting is Love Dreams as well. But Gin Palace holds sway at the moment with a furlong and a half to go. Coming for another crack is Love Dreams. Then Kodiak Harbour. Rhythmic Intent staying on steadily. Maybe it's a little too steadily as they run inside the furlong. Gin Palace holds the advantage. Rhythmic Intent, Love Dreams, Kodiak Harbour. The nearest pursuers, half a furlong for Gin Palace to keep going, and Gin Palace is doing more than enough to win for Eve Johnson Horton and Charlie Bishop. Rhythmic Intent second, third Love Dreams, and fourth Kodiak Harbour.
Gin Palace has won from the front. Nice performance. They had one go forward earlier on at Newbury. Madam Sampson just got tired, but Gin Palace has stayed there on Charlie Bishop to see off the challenge from Rhythmic Intent. They just swapped sides as Gin Palace just edged over to his left from the centre of the track, and Love Dreams was back in third. Dominant performance, George, from the front.
Yeah, as we said beforehand, Charlie kept it simple on a very straightforward individual and battled it out well. It galloped through to the line, and Rhythmic Intent ran well, dropping back 4 furlongs from his usual sort of 12 furlong trip, and it was a good first time effort over the trip for him.
Gin Palace at that stage just went ever so slightly left. May have been a bit of Rhythmic Intent going right as well, but a nice performance from Eve Johnson Horton's at 30. Mancayan is 5s, as is Singing the Blues. Both of those have nibbled in a touch. 12-1 Atomic Jack. 11 go here. 3-1 clear favourite. Blame It on Sally. Let's get back to Nick at Sandown Park.
Tom, thank you very much, and what a fine job you're doing, marshalling all your troops this afternoon here on Racing TV. Going down to post there is number 11 in this final race, Be Fair, for Tony Carroll and Brett Doyle. It's a good little race, this, of its type. Quite open. I thought there were quite a few that you could give some sort of a chance to, but Blame It on Sally. It's not really surprising that he's captured the imagination. Alan King, William Buick, progressive, relatively lightly raced, can go on turf. Martin's there listening in. Martin, what I want to ask you is, do you think William Buick will get on with it here on a horse who stays at least this far, given what you saw in the last division?
He's likely to, isn't he? He's drawn in stall 1. I would think he might potentially take a lead off Atomic Jack, who's a free-going, free-rolling front-runner who nearly always employs front-running tactics. So, you know, they won't want to get hooked up for a mile 6, would they? So I wouldn't be surprised if he took a lead, but I'd certainly expect William to be pretty positive on Blame It on Sally. 3-time winner last season. He was all out for the last of those in a small field race at Kempton, where he dictated a modest gallop. I wouldn't say that he was thrown in purely on his form on the flat so far, but like you say, Nick, he was progressive all the way through last year. He was consistent, and we've only seen him once over hurdles for his new yard. That was in the Adonis. It was a stiff task, and you know, he could easily be a horse that improves a little bit more. He certainly stays very well. He's got a lot of size and strength to him physically. You'll have seen that this afternoon. I've seen him a few times on the track in the past, and I would think physically he'll be a better horse this year, and with that comes the potential for improvement. But you know, his price looks on the skinny side to me. He has a chance. He's likely to be positively ridden by a top rider. He should have an optimum sit and everything, but 3-1 favourite kind of tells its own story, I think, in a quite competitive race.
I know what you mean, because I found myself being quite positive about quite a few of these. Young Merlin, certainly, you'd think, ought to be better than a 74 horse in time if he's ready, and Singing the Blues has the fitness edge over most of these.
They're off. Mile and 3/4 again. Flint Rock is the slowest one to get going with the noseband. Be Fair is rousted along early on, but Mancayan in white and pink. Blame It on Sally in mauve and black are the first pair to show, although Atomic Jack in the green with the cheek pieces on is coming through to join him, as also is Singing the Blues in the dark blue and beige colours. That's the leading quartet. Young Merlin in blue, stripes on the cap is next, and then Be Fair sits on the outside of him, and Ascot Day in white and orange colours is next, although Voroshan in blue and white might just be preceding Ascot Day as they run down the side of the course. About 2 lengths off those, mainly pink sleeve jacket of Fleeting Visits, a length ahead of the white and green of Author's Dream, and Flint Rock nose-banded 2 lengths behind those is at the rear as they turn to the 1.25 mile start. Mancayan about to be taken on by Atomic Jack. Nothing between that pair at the moment. Ascot Day with an orange cap's a length off them. Gone up into 3rd place now, taking that just from Blame It on Sally. Singing the Blues, dark blue and beige colours is next, and Young Merlin is 2 lengths behind these, sitting on the inside of Be Fair with red sleeves on a blue jacket. Voroshan races then in company with Author's Note as they head down towards the last 7 furlongs of the race. Then Flint Rock, who's up on the inside of Fleeting Visit, are the last couple of runners, but Mancayan, Stevie Donoghue, the pink sleeves, continues to lead them. There'll be about only 10 lengths first to last, with in 2nd place the green jacket Kieran Schumacher on Atomic Jack. Races just on the outer of Blame It on Sally, a black cap for William Buick towards the running rail. Ascot Day, white and orange, Jimmy Crin round the outside, dark blue colours Singing the Blues and Rob Hornby, followed by Jason Watson on Young Merlin. Be Fair, red and yellow on the sleeves for Brett Doyle is next, a white jacket Author's Dream and Callum Shepherd just ahead of Voroshan and Hector Crouch. They turn towards the home straight. Flint Rock and Sylvester de Souza, Fleeting Visit, Dougie Costello continue to be the final pair of runners as they level up for home inside the last half mile, and Mancayan continues to lead. Atomic Jack in 2nd, just ridden along to try and get on terms. A run coming here from Author's Dream, white and green jacket towards the right, coming into it just about to grab 3rd place. Blame It on Sally is still there. Young Merlin, stripes on the cap against the running rail, is making some progress. Be Fair comes next. Behind that, a weakening Atomic Jack as they head inside the 2. Mancayan struggling to hold the lead, but is holding it from Young Merlin in blue. A black cap, Blame It on Sally, white and green colours, Author's Dream. Mancayan is still in front, but now the blue colours of Young Merlin is drawn alongside. Goes on narrowly. Author's Dream is still trying to get there and is coming strongly on the outside. Author's Dream, Callum Shepherd get up late on to beat Young Merlin. They're about 3 clear from Mancayan. Then came Blame It on Sally and Fleeting Visits.
Author's Dream, another winner for William Knight. Callum Shepherd in the saddle from Young Merlin, and Mancayan 33-1 for Author's Dream. Swoop late down the wide outside to win. 5 o'clock at Leicester is upon us then. Over 6 furlongs for this. It's a fillies maiden, and good to soft in places. Reminder of that. Isabella Giles is 5-2. Rod address is 100-30. Chicabella is 9-2. 11-2 easing out to 7-1. Now nibbled back to 13-2 for Al Saraya. And Virginia Plain is 7-1. 12s and bigger the remainder. All 8 go. Isabella Giles 9-4. Few in, few more to go. Quick thoughts with Stuart Machin.
Yeah, not too many more to go now. By and large, Tom, they've behaved themselves pretty well at the start. Just took a while to get Royal Address into stall 7. You can probably see that Virginia Plain in stall 8 is a little bit edgy. In the parade ring, they were all very quiet, very relaxed. Liked Virginia Plain as an individual. Of course, she's had a run. Isabella Giles represents a yard that's in form and has been getting debutante winners, as we see Virginia Plain in stall 8 just becoming a little bit more fractious. I thought Royal Address, who's been slightly uneasy in the market, was one of the best behaved. She looked really relaxed. She's another who's had a run. She showed a bit of promise at Lingfield on her debut. She's in stall 7. Chica Bella has been a little bit edgy at the start. Josie Gordon has had her feet out the irons. Chica Bella is now blindfolded for stall's entry out the back, and she's going to be one of the last couple to go in. Quite a light-framed individual. She's had a run, showed a bit of promise at Newmarket. Whether she's quite got the scope for progression, as some of the others in the field, remains to be seen. She moves in, so the last one is about to come in for the first at Leicester this evening. We can go up to the commentary box and wish a very good evening to Martin Harris.
Evening, Stuart. Hello, everyone. Al Soraya, the last to load. Last one incoming. Al Soraya, drawn 6. All in. And off. Over the straight 6 furlongs for this maiden event for 2-year-old fillies. Chica Bella was the slowest away. Royal Address and Isabella Giles either side of Al Soraya, the leading trio, as they complete the first furlong. They're hunted up by Virginia Plain nearest the stands rails. Famille Rose, Algarda and Tribute to Jade are all close up, and now closing in on the far side is Chica Bella as they complete the first quarter of a mile. It's Royal Address nearest the rails with Al Soraya in the red and white for company, with Isabella Giles close up as they reach halfway. Algarda is next, Virginia Plain follows, then Famille Rose, Chica Bella and finally Tribute to Jade as they approach the final quarter of a mile. It's Royal Address and Al Soraya from Isabella Giles. Algarda towards the far side is 4th, Famille Rose behind those, then Virginia Plain as they approach the final furlong. Isabella Giles taking over now from Royal Address. Chica Bella making headway in the centre. Algarda, Famille Rose running on. Isabella Giles from Famille Rose, Algarda and Chica Bella running up towards the line. Isabella Giles home in front. Tight for second between Famille Rose, Algarda, Chica Bella and 4th. Royal Address faded behind those.
Debut success for the Clive Cox trained Isabella Giles in the colours of Paul and Claire Rooney. Adam Kirby in the saddle, coming out of stall 1, and I think she's done really well here. It just got a little bit messy late on, didn't it? Royal Address, who was probably just beginning to fade at the time, a little bit short of daylight inside the last furlong. Also, Virginia Plain, when she wasn't really going anywhere at the time, was a bit short of daylight near that stand-side running rail. I think this is quite a nice performance from Isabella Giles. Tight for second between Famille Rose, who's with the white cap in midfield, just being bustled along to try and get a position at this stage, and Algarda, who's on the extreme left with the checked sleeves, and she's shown up well for a long way as well. Relatively unfancied in the market, Algarda, and her pedigree suggests that in time she's probably going to want further. She's shown a bit here, and the result of the photo for second is just coming through, and Famille Rose is indeed second, and Algarda is third, with Chica Bella, who's over on the far side in the white jacket, filling out 4th. Now, of course, Chica Bella is one of those who'd had a run. You wouldn't necessarily have believed that was the case when she slightly fell out of the stalls here, and that put her on the back foot, and she's had to make up ground a little bit isolated from the bulk of the field here. She has once again hinted at the fact that she's got a bit of ability. Just look to the right there and you'll see Virginia Plain in the red and white, briefly short of daylight as Famille Rose switched the fence, and now in the dark blue, Royal Address is slightly impeded by the winner. I think she was beaten at the time, Royal Address, but she might have finished a place or two closer. She showed bright speed from the stalls and had clearly learned something from her debut effort at Lingfield. 1 minute 11.66 at the winning time, half a length at the winning distance. Clive Cox, who's made a bright start since the resumption and has been getting debut winners, has got another one here in the shape of Isabella Giles, driven out by Adam Kirby to make sure she could be a nice prospect. Let's wrap up the full SPs with Tom.
Yeah, just checking that time. So it's not a bad time. 1.66 outside. Nice performance from debutant Isabella Giles, 9-4 favourite. Adam Kirby, Clive Cox in the colours of Paul and Claire Rooney. Famille Rose, second, 12-1. Elgarda, 33-1 back in third. All 8 ran. And keeping his beady eye on that, Camille is 3-1. Touchy, well, open 5-2. No great shakes about that. Moose Salsa is 5-1, as is Snow. Money for St Clarence into 5-1. Sagrada Familia is 15-2 and been supported. 14's and bigger the rest. 12 go. There's a few for support, likes of Sagrada Familia and St Clarence as well. And they're pretty solid towards the top. Florence Camille.
Yes, I think anybody who was looking to the market for some clues ahead of this fillies maiden might probably end up more confused than when they had a glance at the race, first of all, because quite a few of them have at one stage or other attracted market support. Aidan O'Brien runs 4. Son Donica's got a newcomer in there who's been nibbled at Oh So True, and Joseph's horse.
She might have had things go away all the way through. She got first-time blinkers on. I wouldn't be surprised to see her step up today.
Bustled up Snow on the inside with, in third place, St Clarence, and then comes Evening Primrose and Florence Camille. They're followed on settling down by Cata in the red cap as they race in these early stages. Snow just heads, Salsa with St Clarence in third. In fourth place is Evening Primrose in the white cap. And then the nose banded Cata, red hat. On the outside is Grenadine. And then Florence Camille and Sagrada Familia. And then comes Caliena, who's on the outside of Slaney East. And then Oh So True. And Afterglow is the back marker. Racing to the 7 furlong point, and it's Snow disputing the lead with alongside Salsa. The stable companions a couple of lengths in front of St Clarence and Evening Primrose. Grenadine is on the outside of Cata. Florence Camille just pushed along on the inside of Sagrada Familia. And then Slaney East, Caliena, Afterglow, and Oh So True. Passing the halfway stage as they make the downhill run for the turn into the straight, and little to choose between Snow and Salsa, length and a half in front of St Clarence. Running off the bend there was Sagrada Familia. Rein back in as Snow and Salsa showed 2 in front of Evening Primrose St Clarence. Florence Camille next with Grenadine and Cata. Sagrada Familia is on the outside of Slaney East and Oh So True. Afterglow and Caliena knocked back to the rear. They've 2.5 furlongs to go. And looming up on the outside is St Clarence to tackle. Snow and Salsa. One of the riders has lost their whip there. Couple of lengths back to Sagrada Familia, who runs on into fourth ahead of Florence Camille. Snow and Salsa have shaken off the attentions of St Clarence. Running on as Oh So True. It's Snow and Salsa in this protracted duel since the start. Up towards the finish, and hands and heels, it's Snow. Snow and Shamie Heffernan beat stable companion Salsa, doing good work for third Oh So True, and then Slaney East, Afterglow, and St Clarence folded.
So indeed, it is a 1-2 for Aidan O'Brien here. Snow getting the better of stable companion Salsa, on board whom Wayne Lorden lost his whip, as Jerry said in commentary. It's always very difficult to gauge in these situations because the winner ultimately won a shade Cosley Fram, but very much in the balance, and it was hardly ideal as far as Salsa was concerned, I think, was it?
No, it's not ideal. I think, as you said, as you can see, Gary, I think it was Wayne the lost whip when he was going to challenge, and when you've got the blinkers on and a filly that needs a bit of encouragement, you can see she's backing up a bit under pressure. That said, Shamie Heffernan, you know, despite possibly getting ahead at one stage, looked quite comfortable in the last half of furlong. His filly seemed to extend really well at that point, and was probably a good winner to line with her ears slightly pricked. Very strange race at about 4.5 furlongs. Looked to be a little bit of interference, and it wasn't all smooth for the Durham well-trained winner Florence Camille, but her effort petered out tamely enough too.
No, and another one who, for whatever reason, just seemed to run a little bit wayward there about midway through the race was Joseph O'Brien's newcomer Sagrada Familia. That's run really well in the circumstances, was very free in the early part of the race too, and I say just looked a bit of a handful all told, but managed to get right into the thick of things early in the straight, Fran, before folding, and one to bear in mind going forward. And I thought St Clarence ran a fair bit better than maybe the Bearfax will tell you too.
Yeah, I'd say Clarence would possibly be better with a cut in the ground. It was a little bit fresh and keen, and Shane Foley's hands in a great position up behind following the two Ballydale runners, but he appeared to be coming with a winning challenge, going inside the 2 furlong marker, and she just began to wander around under pressure, and she ended to grab her up again, and she just faltered a bit, and perhaps a little bit more ease in the ground might suit her better, and maybe she just ran to a good level and came up against two smart enough fillies at the moment.
That was the moment Fran was talking about there. There was just a bit of scrimmaging off that home turn. I think Sagrada Familia might have got a bump before that maybe just nudged her wider on the track, but you'll see here the predominantly yellow jacket Shane Cross on board. She makes up ground pretty stylishly just to latch onto the heels of the leaders there, about a furlong and a half from home, unable to sustain it from that point on, but all told it was a promising effort. But these are the closing stages now, and essentially, well, Wayne Lordan, as Jerry said in commentary, didn't have a choice, Fran, but it was essentially a hands and heels ride, bar just one little flick there from Shamie Heffernan too, so difficult to know what would have happened. But as you say, a filly with headgear on, you think maybe having the Persuader would have been a big plus.
It would have been a big plus, I think, with her experience and the fact she's headgear on, Gary. You know, you'd imagine if Wayne was able to get into full flow, or he might have put it up to win her, but there was a degree of comfortability, if you like, late on with the winner. She just seemed to find a little bit more towards the end. You know, it would have been interesting had Wayne had the whip, but perhaps the more progressive, straightforward filly has won anyway. Lots to like about the finishing position of the third horse, also true. Donnacha O'Brien's runner, daughter of American Pharaoh, who we should see the best of his stock this year, and she really finished off nicely. And I thought John Ox would be very happy with the Teofilo filly, Afterglow, who, you know, it mightn't have had a straightforward trip either, I think, at one point, but had to challenge wide first time out. Wasn't getting much help into the race, and still finished off well in the last 3 parts of furlong, you know, to finish 5th, I think, in the end.
Thanks, Fran. Yes, we're just watching a head-on replay of the closing stages, and the filly in the centre, you can see there, that's where the whip goes for Wayne Lordan on board Salsa, and from that point on he's just able to punch away hands and heels. But Shamie Heffernan himself, as I say, never really went for everything on board Snow, and the inside the rail might have been a bit of a help too, and ultimately she wins. A shade cosily and a few to maybe just keep in mind from further back in the field, as Fran was saying there. So that's the story of our third race. Snow is the winner, returning more the finished article after a winter off, and a daughter of a very good filly herself in Chelsea Rose, who of course was a Group 1 winner. We are going to go back to the studio where Angus has taken over from Tom in the hot seat. Afternoon, Angus.
Hello, Gary. Good to hear from you. Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoyed all of the action this afternoon here on the Racing TV. Plenty more to come, of course, from the Cara and from Leicester. Snow, the winner of the 5-10, 5-1. Salsa was second at 9-2, and Oh So True was third at 16-1. So we are underway with our evening action here on Racing TV. Leicester coming up next, and then it's Curragh all the way until we get to 1,000 Guineas, the penultimate race on the card, the big feature event of the day. Our second from Leicester is coming up. It's the Fillies Novice Stakes. It's over 6 furlongs. Stuart Matring is casting his eye over them.
Well, we got 3-year-old fillies in action in race 2 at Leicester this evening, and the top one, the only previous winner in the field, Donnybrook, who, as you can see, is hooded once again. And that was the case for her 2 runs as a juvenile. Is going to go to the start early indeed. Nicky Mackay, who's in the all-blue Godolphin silks, is about to be given the leg up into the saddle. She's obviously got to give away her penalty here, which isn't going to make it as straightforward. As you can see, she's quite a keen-going type, just living on her nerves a little bit. And she's up against some possibly progressive rivals in the field here. She sets a fair standard on the evidence of what she achieved in those 2 starts last year, including when winning at a prohibitive price at Yarmouth on her final start. That's the top one at Donnybrook. Take a look at 1 or 2 of the others then in the field, and perhaps we'll start off by having a look at number 9, Marietti. who's just having a little bit of a look around her. She was a big price for her debut at Kempton last week. She might improve with that experience behind her. At the moment, it still looks like it's a learning curve, as you can probably tell from those shots, and she might be more of a long-term project. Let's move across to number 5, if we can. This is one of the bigger price runners in the field. Relatively small filly as well. She was a cheap purchase as a yearling, far from a ruby for the William Muir yard. And probably a watching brief as far as she is concerned. Behind her is number 8, another of the big price runners. This is the Sir Mark Todd trained filly, Kailinga. She cost €30,000 as a juvenile. Not a bad-looking individual, but she might well need the experience in this one. And if we swing back to the left, perhaps we can pick up number 2, Abel Grace, who was a big price for her only start as a juvenile last back end. She weakened to finish slightly worse than midfield, but did show up at one stage in that race. She's got a little bit of size about her. She might be able to build on that for a yard that's in good form and has already been among the winners here this evening. Esprit Rose, number 4, has just come into the parade ring. You'll see her go through the shot. We'll get a closer look at her as she comes round next time, hopefully. But she had a couple of runs as a juvenile. She shaped quite promisingly first time up at Haydock in a field of largely green and inexperienced rivals. She was a little bit short of daylight as well in the closing stages of that race. There's perhaps an argument for saying she didn't necessarily build on that on her second start. Not too sure how much growing she's done during the closed season, but she does represent a yard that's in decent heart at the moment. And there she goes down at the far end. That's number 4, Esprit Rose, who'll be the mount of Jack Mitchell for Roger Varian. If we swing back across to the far side of the parade ring, perhaps we can get a look at a number 11, Strawberry Hind, who'll be ridden by Nicola Curry for Mick Shannon. She's got a little bit more experience than a few of these, and a couple of decent efforts as well in her first 2 starts last year. Mick Shannon has been having winners since the resumption, just under a fortnight ago. She might be vulnerable to one or two improvers in this, but she did show last year that she had ability. 12, just going through the shots. That's Trixie Waterbury. Runs in the colours of the Megsons. She might benefit from this experience. And let's just get another look at number 4, Esprit Rose, if we can. Here she is, white-faced filly. She's fairly calm and relaxed at the moment, isn't she? It's quite a breezy evening here at Leicester. Warm as well, much warmer than it has been for the last couple of days, but nothing at present getting noticeably warm or noticeably on edge. And if you're just tuning in, Donnybrook has already gone off to the start, just getting a little bit on her toes. And the last one is just about to make her way into the parade ring. This is number 10, She Can Do, for Conrad Allen. She's had a run, this daughter of Toronado. Tom Eves is set to take the ride, and she again might be more of a long-term project. So that's a fair selection of the runners in our second race at Leicester this evening.
So that's a look at them in the parade ring. This is how they bet, and Esprit Rose is 10 to 11 and quite strong in the market. Donnybrook is 9 to 4. It's 10 to 1 Abel Grace. Strawberry Hind is 14s. Malietti 16s, 18 to 1. She Can Do. Giniano 25 to 1. It is 66 to 1 bar those. Reminder of the non-runners, 3 and 6. 10 going to post at the moment for this, our second from Leicester. Analysing all the racing from Leicester, James Millman. I get a chance to say hello to James now. You saw him briefly talking about the first race. How are you, mate? All good?
Hines sales, so not a great start for her. Esprit Rose, a shade of odds on here. I just wonder if we can bring in commentator Martin Harris, who's high up in the grandstand, because he'll have had a better view of Strawberry Hind on the way down. Martin, most of these in the parade ring were behaving themselves pretty well. It wasn't really until Strawberry Hind got out onto the track there was any real sign of anything being wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, Stu. I think it was just she went out with her feet out the irons, and just as she was about to put one of her feet in them, the saddle went, and that's when Strawberry Hind rather took charge of things. But she seems to be quite a sensible filly. She didn't go too ballistic, and as soon as she got down to the 6 furlong start, she pulled herself up. She could have ended up another furlong up, or even in somebody's back garden, so we have to be grateful for that.
Well, it's almost through the tack adjustments by the looks of things. If you are just tuning in on whatever platform you're watching Racing TV this evening. Donnybrook, who's the only previous winner in the field, went to the start early. Now she's hooded again. She was hooded for both her starts as a juvenile, and having shown promise first time up, she confirmed that at pretty prohibitive odds, 4-11 at Yarmouth on her final start. But given that we've got a moment or two, I just wonder if I can bring in James Millman here, because James, whilst Donnybrook has got the form in the book and she's got the win to her name, it's surely never easy for a filly at this stage of their 3-year-old season to try and give so much weight away to unexposed rivals.
No, the £7 penalty is pretty severe, and actually if it's a handicap, she'd be £5 worse off with Esprit Rose, and I think that's probably key with the market. Also, the stalls could be key.
We can move back up to the commentary box and rejoin Martin.
Cheers, Stuart. Kalinga safely in. Marietti to complete the line. They've just popped a blindfold on Giuliano whilst we wait on Marietti. Last one's incoming. Marietti into stall number 8 for the OB Fillies Novice Stakes. They're off. 6 furlongs in front of them. Fairly level break. Marietti last in, one of the first out, with Abel Gray showing speed. Donnybrook stand side is right up with them, so too is Strawberry Hind, and also Kalinga, with Far From a Ruby just a length or so off them in company with Giuliano. Esprit Rose is held up towards the rear, with Trixie Waterbury also at the back as they run towards the halfway stage. Led by Marietti from Abel Grace and Donnybrook nearest the stands rails. They're hunted up by Far From a Ruby, Giuliano. Then follows She Can Do. Esprit Rose is beginning to pick them off one by one. Strawberry Hind has dropped away along with Kalinga as they approach the final quarter of a mile. Marietti from Abel Grace. Donnybrook now been shaken up stand side. She Can Do is behind those. Esprit Rose switched to the far side, is making headway to come and challenge for the lead. Just over a furlong to go. Marietti joined far side by Esprit Rose. Donnybrook and Abel Grace are third and fourth, racing well inside the final furlong. Esprit Rose from Donnybrook now as Marietti weakens, running up towards the line. Esprit Rose from Donnybrook, from Marietti and Abel Grace, the front four were clear, with She Can Do best of the rest.
Short price favourite obliges Esprit Rose, 5-4 on just before the off, having been backed in. She's won this quite tidily, given a very patient, confident ride by Jack Mitchell. He was happy to make his challenge out in the centre of the track, and she's got this done quite tidily in the end. From the penalised filly Donnybrook, who in the circumstances trying to give £7 to her rivals here, and perhaps not ideally positioned in the stall, right against the stands rail in stall 12. I think she's done well, Donnybrook, to fill out second. Marietti has stepped up from her debut effort seemingly to fill out third, having raced prominently here, and Abel Grace is in fourth. Winner returned 5-4 on. And so 2 races down. If we bring James Millman back in again, James, early days, only 2 races in, as I was saying, but just picking up on the point that you were making earlier, that it's no great disadvantage to be making your efforts out in the centre of the track here.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you've got a choice, you try and go up the centre if you've got a low draw. It was hard for Jack Mitchell because he wanted to get cover on Esprit Rose, but Nicky Mackay is out and gone on Donnybrook, and it was very hard for him to judge exactly when to go. He's timed it right. I think it was a bit of a disadvantage where Donnybrook raced, but hard from that draw really to do much else. Neither filly looks like they've grown too much from 2 to 3, so I'm not quite sure how strong the form is. Marietti, lots of pace on the second start for Henry County, improved nicely for the first run 11 days ago. He's run well. I thought the one that's probably interesting, She Can Do, a little bit of money for that one earlier on this morning, back in 5th for Conrad Allen. She ended up drifting to the stand side rail, but she hasn't run too bad at all.
No, and 1 or 2 of the others in the lineup as well. Kalinga, the grey sleeves, she looked as green as grass for 2/3 of the race. She's made limited inroads late on. She looks more of a long-term project, the daughter of Kalaki. But you can see on the right, Donnybrook, the penalised filly, out alertly. She's kept it simple under Nicky Mackay, come right down the stand side. Go back to the third place, Marietta, who's in the centre with the yellow sleeves and cap. She probably has got a little bit more size about her than either the winner or the runner-up here. And given that this was only her second start and a relatively swift run back from her debut effort as well, she's probably one to bear in mind as far as the future is concerned. And picking up what James was saying about She Can Do, she's in the dark jacket with a pink sash. Just got a little bit lost, I thought, at the halfway stage when the tempo quickened, but she's kept on without threatening the principals and might be able to build on that as well. And a decent enough effort, I think, in fourth place from Abel Grace, who's in the black and gold colours, second from the left. She showed just a little bit on her debut last back end, and on the face of it has built on that here. But an odds-on success for Esprit Rose, making it third time lucky.
They call 9-1, so is Balwan. Onirwa is 16-1. Limits long 20s, having been 25s, and it's 20s and bigger. The rest of them. Strong Johnson, your favourite, at 3-1 for this sprint handicap. Let's go back to Gary.
Thanks indeed, Angus. Yes, Strong Johnson, one of the less exposed runners in this race. Must admit, I find these races tricky enough at the best of times, but Strong Johnson, after just 7 career starts, and largely speaking towards the back end of last season, which was his first on a racecourse, belated first on a racecourse, very consistent. Colin Keane on board. Understandable that there would be a fair degree of support for him on his return to the fray. The stable had a winner on the opening day all the way back at the end of March at Naas. Very impressive horse, just can't think of his name now, but he's been sold to run abroad in the interim. But just got to bring Fran in. They do a good job, Fran, don't they? Kieran Cotter and his team, Danny Murphy, obviously big part of it as well. And this fella, he's got a left to load. Watching brief for you, Fran, or is there one in particular you'd stick with?
Yeah, number 11, Balwan, trained by Dennis Hogan. I'd like to see a bit more market support, but he's won in fast ground in Musselburgh, albeit off a lower mark. But there is possibly a little bit about upside to him. Joy Sheridan claiming 7. Could just run well at an each way price, but a trappy race, and I wouldn't have a lot of faith in a lot of minute. You know, anything could win, I suppose.
Last one. And they're off to a good level break, and it's Balwan, and in the centre is Art of Unity. On the stand side, the top weight Strong Johnson and Sunset Nova in between horses. They're being followed by Early Call. Mi Esperanza over on the far side is on tick as they settle down. Sun and Sani is next with Zippity and Honoroi, and they're being followed on towards the halfway stage by Sundance Star. Drift at the back of the field is Annabelle Rock. Heading on to the final 2 furlongs in the Platinum Bloodstock and Airfield House Stud Handicap. Mi Esperanza in the centre, pressed by Balwan. Stand side is Strong Johnson. Art of Unity, Zippity is next, and then Early Call and Honoroi spread right across the track inside the final furlong. Strong Johnson on the near side has come to pick it up, racing up towards the finish. It is Strong Keane on Strong Johnson, going on to beat Sun and Stanley from out of the pack, and then Balwan, Sundance Star, Art of Unity and Early Call.
Good performance from the top weight. Strong Johnson has justified favouritism here in this Platinum Bloodstock and Airfield House Stud Handicap, and a likeable performance it was too. He picked up really well with that run towards the near side rail, and Colin Keane less than 24 hours on from his win in the Guineas on Siskin, strikes again here. And as we go back to the start, you see there the horse that was slowest into stride was Annabelle Rock. That one is apparently, on the face of things, run well below expectations. Was a long way adrift for much of the race, but Fran, we discussed him at length beforehand. He was the one with the greatest upside probably, and he's truly delivered.
Yeah, duly delivered, Gary, and seemed to handle that fast ground perfectly fine. He broke reasonably well for the gates, but was quickly into stride for Colin Keane, and he just travelled in his comfort zone all the way. As you can see, Colin has kept him away from horses and more towards the stands rail. And as I said prior to the race, he has shown a tendency in the past to hang to his left, and he was probably riding with that in mind, to have a rail close by to just keep him straight under pressure. But once he's picked him up from here, he's lengthened and, you know, a couple of backhanders, but he's won with a degree of authority. Sunset Nova was beaten after furlong. He was hanging quite badly right and looked an uncomfortable ride for Andy Slattery, and Defensive Third Baluan travelled very well into the race and didn't find as much as you'd think for pressure, but ran a good race. And Sun and Sani, another unexposed horse in the race in his first handicap, who was actually fourth in a Dundalk maiden, where Skeptical was third, believe it or not, on Skeptical's debut. He's run very well for Dick Robinson and can improve off this.
Yes, he picked up well late on, Sun and Sani, to grab the runner-up berth, and Franz each way pick there. Balwan has also emerged with plenty of credit, but Strong Johnson, who won a maiden at Navan on soft ground last season, proving his versatility with conditions there today on much quicker terrain. And this team have done well with their sprinters in the last couple of years. Polly Douglas was one, and it's certainly a stable, Fran, I think, to pay very close attention to, particularly when the market speaks in their favour.
Yeah, very much so. And, you know, they tend to race over sprinting distances, and they've had winners in maiden races, they've had winners in handicaps. And as you said, Gary, when the money comes, it's quite significant. Kieran Cotter was always a good operator in his own right, but Danny Murphy is a very experienced trainer, particularly in Asia. You know, has a good record. And I think since the two of them have teamed up, they seem to have expanded the operation. And, you know,
Can you tell us?
Yeah, he's a lovely horse. It is Abel Kane. House Sister Sweet Pursuits won 6 or 7 races for us. Loves a bit of soft ground, and he definitely wants them given the ground, so he needed that rain that's fed over the last couple of days to run. 74, I think the handicap has probably been a little bit harsh. RPI only 71 for that Beverley win. But he's a type to progress with age and experience. Looks to be a bit of a match race. Whether he can treble the top 2 in the market, I'm not sure, but he might be.
I think he's a very good-looking, strong individual, and hopefully for Rod and the team, he can build on whatever he achieves here tonight on his first start as a 3-year-old. Last couple are coming in then for one of the more interesting handicaps on the Leicester card this evening. Let's go back up to the commentary box and rejoin Martin.
Cheers, Stu. Little Red Sox, drawn 8, will be the last one. Stalls handlers in with treble in stall 1 at the moment as Little Red Sox completes the line. Set and off. 6 furlongs the trip for the Whetstone Handicap Stakes. Love Powerful and Bowling Russian were amongst the quickest away. Treble from stall 1 is also right amongst the leaders. Asmund nearest the stand side is chasing them with Little Red Sox for company. A Star in the Making is just on the heels of the leaders along with Abel Kane. Little Brown Trout is towards the rear together with Nightcap and Winning Streak, and Tommy DeVito is towards the rear on the far side as they approach the halfway stage. With Bowling Russian, Treble and Love Powerful, the leading trio from Abel Kane, Star in the Making. On the extreme left, Tommy DeVito is picking up the leaders as Asmund begins to weaken towards the near side. They're inside the final 2. Bowling Russian, Love Powerful, Treble, with Tommy DeVito being produced on the far side. Abel Kane is behind those. Then follows Star in the Making, approaching the final furlong. Treble with the noseband from Tommy DeVito. Love Powerful, Bowling Russian, Star in the Making, running on back in 5th. It's Love Powerful under Jack Mitchell with the advantage. Star in the Making finishing off strongly under the near side as they hit towards the line. It's tight between Love Powerful, Star in the Making, Tommy DeVito in 3rd, and the always prominent Treble ran 4th.
Judge Nick Bostock here at Leicester has called for the evidence of the camera to split 9 Love Powerful in the King Power colours for Richard Hanlon and Jack Mitchell, and the strong finishing Star in the Making, number 2, in the Spence colours under Adam Kirby. However, the freeze frame on the line would suggest that Love Powerful has held on. Tommy DeVito in 3rd. Still thought at times in the race it was a learning curve for him. He can probably build on that again. Here it comes.
Number 9, Love Powerful.
Love Powerful is the winner. It's a double on the night for Jack Mitchell, supplementing his success aboard the Roger Varian trained Esprit Rose in our previous race. Love Powerful for Richard Hannon and the team returned at 16 to 1, inching out Star in the Making, who's in the red with the white sleeves. It eventually switches more towards the near side. Tommy DeVito, favourite, 3rd, and the ever-prominent Treble, who's in the sheepskin noseband, has filled out 4th for all good each-way bets. Just took a while, didn't it, for Star in the Making to get going. Having travelled well to beyond halfway, she didn't initially pick up, but she's fairly stormed home here. And I just wonder if we can bring James Millman in. I just wonder, James, as far as the runner-up is concerned, Star in the Making, whether she'll be slightly more at home on a flatter track, somewhere a little bit less undulating.
Yeah, possibly. You made the point. You didn't think she had a Newmarket last time when she hit the tip in that very valuable nursery, and she's taken a while to gather her thoughts under Adam Kirby, but has absolutely flown home. Good winning ride from Jack Mitchell, though. Stall 11, away, you don't want to be near that stand side rail. Look at the whole pack. They've all come across the middle of the track, but one off the rail. Jack got a nice position in the centre, which is where you want to be, and it negates that disadvantage of racing near the stand side. I agree with what you're saying about Tommy DeVito. See from the stalls, he's a little bit clueless. He's running 2 small field novices at Newcastle where nobody really wants to lead, so they go very steady, whereas a much stronger pace today, he'll come on plenty for the experience. I think he's still one to keep on side, even though the money's been lost today.
So we seem to have lost Stuart there, so we'll just take them from halfway here. Love Powerful was always handy from stall 11 under Jack Mitchell, whereas Star in the Making tracked the pace and was scrubbed along quite a long way out to this filly, but she picked up in quite good style. And just watching it again, I wonder whether she took something of a false step when she came with her run, and just in the closing stages, James. It'd be interesting to see again.
Yeah, possibly so. Just took a long time to get going, because she was actually tracking the winner the whole race, so you can't say she got too far behind. The winner just quickened away from her, and she took a little while to pick up, getting hand over fist at the end. A little bit unlucky, but I think Jack Mitchell was just giving the horse a very good ride in front. And
the 11s, and it is 12 to 1 and bigger the rest for this valuable and competitive handicap. Let's go back to Gary as they go to post.
Thanks indeed, Angus. Yes, 3 absentees for this one. Mel Bernian and War Diary, last year's winner, who came out early this morning. And then we had Tudor City, the Galway hurdle hero, withdrawn due to the ground conditions this afternoon. I'm afraid his defection came too late for the 3rd reserve to get in here, Guinevere. But the first 2 reserves both get a run. She is Diesel with Chris Hayes on board. And the Mouse Doctor, stablemate of Tudor City, and Mel Bernian, is the mount of Andrew Slattery, claiming the £5. But in many ways, the most interesting horse here is the top weight Verimli, who heads the market. I'm going to bring Fran Berry in. Fran, not the easiest of horses to get a handle on. He's come from France, was bought privately by Lloyd Williams, and an intriguing contender at the very least here. For all that on the face of things, he has a bit on his plate with top weight.
Yeah, Gary, he's an exciting looking prospect, I suppose, you know, given his lightly raced nature, where he's come from and where he's been. He's improved for the step up to 2 miles. A wide draw is actually not a bad thing for him, because he can be slow to get going, and if he gets back on the rail, he wouldn't have time to get organised, but you could see him working into the race, and if he could get going, he could run well, but it would be short of his best distance. She is Diesel is interested at bigger prices, Gary. Probably fallen over a cliff at this stage, because I didn't Dundalk over the winter, but I think she had excuses on a lot of her runs. She wasn't ridden to best effect given the pace of the race on them occasions. She obviously had a golden spell last winter into the spring, but if you go back to that turf run at the Curragh at the Guineas meeting last year when it was held in late May, she was only beaten 2 lengths by Insignia Rank in a Premier Handicap on the turf over a mile and a quarter. And with a good draw today in a lightish weight, Noel Mead, of course, was just beaten the first, and she could outrun her price today.
Yes, and a few quid knocking about for She Is Diesel, the first reserve there at 20 to 1 from 25, as given a good mention by Fran there. But 3 to 1 for Imley, 4 Linwood Gold, 9 Lariat, 11 Tartlet, who's taken that big jump up in class today after 2 easy wins at Dundalk. Shamad, who was prolific last season for Peter Fahey, is another interesting one at the foot of the weight here. Sean Davis, who's
Off. This is the fifth race, the Irish Stallion Farms EBF Ragusa Handicap over 1.5 miles. And the first one to show was John S, being followed by Lariat and Shamad. Improving on the outside is King's Vow. Followed at the end of the first furlong by the Mouse Doctor and the Grey Linwood Gold in between horses, as they organise themselves in these early stages. Lariat just picks it up from Linwood Gold, John S, the Mouse Doctor, Shamad and King's Vow. And they're followed by Magnetic North. And Major Reward is next, and they're being followed by Verimley, and on the inside Machine Learner with Tartlet, and they're followed by Edification, and She is Diesel who's on the inside. Around the outer is Latoya of North, and then comes Mother Vincent, with towards the rear Kasparenko and Arturian Fame. A mile left to go, heading up to the top of the track in the Irish EBF Ragusa Handicap, and it's Lariat with a small advantage over the Mouse Doctor and John S. Linwood Gold makes almost 4 in a line. Then Shamad, followed by Magnetic North, and King's Vow is on the outside of Major Reward. And then Tartlet, Machine Learner is next, with Verimley the top weight, and Latoya of North. Racing now towards the turn into the straight, and it is Lariat and Colin Keane under a length in front of John S and the Mouse Doctor and Linwood Gold. And they're followed by Shamad and King's Vows on the outside of Major Reward. As they've passed the halfway stage, they've 5 furlongs to go. And it's a close run thing for the lead between Lariat, Linwood Gold, the Mouse Doctor, John S, then Shamad, Magnetic North, Major Reward, King's Vow, Machine Learner next with Verimley and Tartlet, She is Diesel, Latoya of North, Edification with the final 3, Kasparenko, Mother Vincent, and Arturian Fame. Running the home turn with just over 3 to go, and straightening up, it's Lariat half a length in front of a driven Linwood Gold. The Mouse Doctor is on the outside, Shamad is just behind them, and they're followed by Machine Learner. Tartlet is picking up behind a wall of horses, and then Latoya of North, Kasparenko down the outside, King's Vow, Major Reward, Mannion with chances racing to the final furlong in the Ragusa Handicap, and Tartlet has got the splits over on the far side to come and lead. Kasparenko, Edification with a customary late rattle. It's Tartlet and Edification, these two going to the line. Edification, take a bow, Gavin Ryan gets up on the line to beat Tartlet, Kasparenko, Major Reward, and then Latoya of North.
What a great finish that was, and it's a huge win here for Mark Fahey. Mark, a member of the very well-known Fahey clan, a nephew of Peter Fahey, who also had a runner in the race, Shamad. And Gavin Ryan, as Jerry alluded to in commentary, has produced Edification to perfection to nail Tartlet, who looked to have done everything right. Fran, it was a fascinating race to watch. The horses who raced close to the pace really gave way in the straight. That was when the closers arrived, and it looked at this stage as though Tartlet was set for victory, but Edification was just following her through, wasn't he?
He was, Gary, and that's what he needs. He needs cover, and he needs, horses to run at and run through, and he had everything fall his way today, particularly getting gap between the eventual second and the rail. I think, made him run straight and through, and when you get into that funnel, if you like, it just tends to spur horses on, and he had a bit of momentum off a very, very messy race. If you roll back as we jump out of stalls here, there was a bit of a rush on early on into that first bend to get a position. A couple of them missed it, but it's quite noticeable at this point that the pace has steadied right off. John S has raced out wide of the field, and Colin Keane didn't really look like he wanted to lead on the rail on Lariat, and Shamad is switching behind him on the rail, and like they're running 6-8 abreast there, and there's a number of them running Keane. I'm not sure the top horse Verimley actually dropped a bridle at any stage throughout, didn't really get the best of breaks at the 2 furlong point, and She is Diesel was extremely keen all the way.
Yes, you can see exactly what Fran's talking about here. Real packing, stacking field at this stage. John S up on the outside, seeing plenty of daylight. The Mouse Doctor also handy, and looking for the horses that eventually dominate the finish. And Tartlet smothered away in kind of rear and mid division there, just one off the rail, racing a little bit with the choke out herself, which I suppose is understandable. She's been off the track for quite some time, and the eventual winner just following her through. I mean, it's a gutting defeat for Tartlet's connections, Fran, but once they get over that, they'll realise that this filly is clearly ultra progressive, and as I say, given how keen she was in the early part of the race, she might even deserve to be marked up a little bit.
She would, Gary, and you know, she's taken a big step up in class, and it's a credit to Shane Crawley the way he's brought her on. Daughter Chancelise, and they just get better with time, and this filly really tries on the Dundalk surface and seems to handle this fast ground really well today. But it's that high cruising speed that she has. It's not ideal there when the horse in the pink colours, Magnetic North, has just come back in a lap a bit, and Niall McCullough and Wade Lorden are quite tightly bunched here together. They're both probably looking for the same position. The pace isn't just quick enough into the straight as you'd like, and you know, it appeared like they got racing early enough in front, you know, for the speed they went. As you said, the pace collapsed somewhat, and Kasparenko has run a huge race from where he came from. He was, you know, all the way, and he's had to switch out, and of course he won the Lister race in Kenton at big prices for Brendan Powell a couple of years ago, and at this point you'd think he's made a manoeuvrability to go forward and go and win the race, but it's the younger, more exposed rival Carter who's gone on at this point, and she looks all over a winner. But Edification's a talented horse, and when he gets things falling his way, he's always threatened to win a good one for Mark Fye, and he's a perfect setup today.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Fran. And as I just heard Mark mention there, another of his uncles, Jarlath, of course, won this with See the Lion in the past as well. He went very close to following up last year, I think, before unfortunately picking up an injury. Horse that ran very well, you might remember, in an Ebor as well. But Edification it is, who's just snatched it from Tartlet, and another good run from a Ken Condon horse here in the shape of Kasparenko back in third. Exciting stuff, Angus.
Yeah, good race, wasn't it? The first and second always travelled strongly towards the rear, and it's a pretty strong gallop on. And the pace collapsed, and they charged, and Edification got there late. 14-1 from Tartlet, 11-1. Kasparenko was also 14-1, was third, and Major Reward was back in fourth at 50s. Leicester 6:30 is the median auction made, and it's over 7 furlongs. 8 Vitar is the 9-4 and drifting favourite. It did open up at 7-4. 5-2 Habanero. Star Wine Flight 4-1. 6-1 Tidal Racer. Lockdown Dream 12s. 28-1 and bigger. The rest 12 runners. Stuart's having a look at them.
So the runners in the parade ring here at Leicester for our fourth race. This is a 7 furlong median auction. We're looking initially at one of the bigger price runners in the field. This is a Tim Easterby trained Grand Pianola, who's been sent off at big prices so far. Carlisle initially, and also at Doncaster. They were both last summer.